A millionaire visits his hometown and decides to grab a hot dog from a small street cart. But when he sees the young vendor's necklace, he immediately breaks into a cold sweat. It was the same one he had given to his ex-girlfriend 20 years ago. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us which city you're watching us from. We'll keep going. The aroma of grilled sausages and warm buns wafted through the crisp Chicago air, a scent as familiar to Liam Marshall as his own reflection. He stood on the bustling sidewalk, hands tucked into the pockets of his tailored suit, watching the crowds move past him like schools of fish in a vast urban ocean. 20 years had passed since he'd last breathed in that unmistakable blend of spices and steam, yet it hit him with the force of a freight train, stirring memories he'd long buried beneath spreadsheets and profit margins. Liam's eyes swept across the street, taking in the changed landscape of his hometown. Sleek high-rises now jutted into the sky where mom-and-pop shops once stood, and trendy cafes had replaced many of the greasy spoons he'd frequented in his youth. But there, nestled between a gleaming bank and an artisanal coffee shop, was a sight that made his heart skip a beat. A humble hot dog cart, its red and white umbrella, a beacon of nostalgia in the sea of progress. He found himself moving towards it, drawn by an invisible thread of memory and longing. As he approached, the vendor's voice rang out, clear and cheerful above the city's din. "Step right up, folks. Get your authentic Chicago dogs here. The best in the Windy City, guaranteed to blow you away." Liam couldn't help but smile. The pitch was as old as the city itself, but there was something in the vendor's tone that caught his attention. It wasn't the rehearsed enthusiasm of a bored worker. It was genuine pride, a love for the craft that resonated with something deep inside him. As he joined the short line, Liam found himself studying the young woman behind the cart. She moved with practiced efficiency, her hands a blur as she assembled each hot dog with the precision of a surgeon. Her dark hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and a light sheen of sweat glistened on her brow, testament to the heat of the grill and the unseasonably warm autumn day. When it was finally his turn, Liam opened his mouth to order, but the words caught in his throat. The young woman looked up at him, and for a moment time seemed to stand still. Her eyes, a warm amber flecked with gold, were hauntingly familiar. It was like looking into a mirror of the past, and Liam felt a jolt of recognition that he couldn't quite place. "What'll it be, sir?" she asked, her smile bright but her eyes betraying a flicker of curiosity. Had she noticed his hesitation? Liam cleared his throat. "One Chicago dog, please, all the way." She nodded approvingly. "Coming right up. You've got good taste, mister. Our Chicago dog is famous around these parts." As she worked, Liam found himself unable to look away. There was something about her that nagged at the edges of his memory, like a word on the tip of his tongue. He watched as she skillfully nestled a steaming hot dog into a poppy seed bun, then began the ritualistic layering of toppings: a squiggle of yellow mustard, a spoonful of neon green relish, freshly chopped onions, 2 tomato wedges, a pickle spear, 2 sport peppers, and finally a dash of celery salt. "Here you go," she said, presenting the hot dog with a flourish. "One Chicago dog in all its glory. Enjoy." Liam took the hot dog, their fingers brushing for the briefest of moments. He felt a spark, not of attraction, but of connection, as if some cosmic force was trying to tell him something important. "Thank you," he said, fumbling for his wallet. "I'm Liam, by the way. Liam Marshall." The young woman's eyes widened slightly, a flicker of recognition passing over her face. "Marshall? As in Marshall's Meats?" Liam nodded, a mix of pride and discomfort washing over him. His company, Marshall's Meats, had grown from a small local supplier to a national powerhouse in the fast food industry. It was his crowning achievement, the reason he'd left Chicago all those years ago. But standing here in front of this simple hot dog cart, he felt a twinge of something that might have been regret. "That's me," he said, forcing a smile. "And you are?" "Maya," she replied, her tone cautious but not unfriendly. "Maya Sullivan. This cart's been in my family for generations. My grandfather started it, and now it's mine. Sullivan." The name hit Liam like a physical blow. Memories flooded back, unbidden and overwhelming. Late nights planning menus, shared dreams of a restaurant empire, stolen kisses flavored with mustard and hope, and at the center of it all a woman with eyes just like Maya's. "Sullivan," he repeated, his voice barely above a whisper. I knew a Sullivan once, Lola Sullivan. We were friends a long time ago." Maya's expression changed, a mix of surprise and wariness crossing her features. "Lola Sullivan is my mother," she said slowly, studying Liam's face with newfound intensity. The hot dog in Liam's hand suddenly felt heavy, laden with the weight of unspoken history and missed opportunities. He took a bite, more to buy time than out of hunger, and was struck by a rush of flavors that transported him back 2 decades in an instant. "This is incredible," he said, genuinely impressed. "It tastes just like I remember." Maya's face softened slightly. "Grandpa's secret recipe. Mom and I have kept it going all these years." As Liam savored the hot dog, his mind raced. He had come back to Chicago with grand plans of revolutionizing the fast food industry, of creating a chain of gourmet hot dog restaurants that would redefine street food. But standing here, tasting the perfection of simplicity, he felt those plans shift and transform. "Maya," he said, wiping his mouth with a napkin, "I know this might sound strange, but I'd love to talk to you about your business, about hot dogs, about Chicago, about everything. Would you be willing to sit down with me sometime?" Maya hesitated, her hand unconsciously moving to touch a simple necklace she wore. "I don't know, Mr. Marshall. We're pretty happy with our little cart here. We're not looking to sell or anything like that." Liam shook his head quickly. No, nothing like that. I think I could learn a lot from you, and maybe, just maybe, I might have some ideas that could help you too. No strings attached, I promise." For a long moment, Maya simply looked at him, her eyes searching his face as if trying to read his true intentions. Finally, she nodded. "All right, Mr. Marshall, you've got yourself a deal. But just talking, okay? This cart, this legacy, it means everything to me." As Liam left the hot dog cart, his mind swirled with possibilities. He had come to Chicago to chase the future, but instead, he found himself face to face with the past. And somewhere in between, in the space between memory and ambition, he sensed the stirring of something new, something that tasted a lot like hope, with just a hint of mustard and regret. Little did he know as he walked away that the simple hot dog he'd just eaten would be the catalyst for a journey that would change not just his life, but the lives of Maya and Lola Sullivan as well. The streets of Chicago held many secrets, and Liam Marshall was about to uncover one that had been waiting for him for 23 years. Maya Sullivan wiped her brow with the back of her hand, the last rays of the setting sun painting the Chicago skyline in hues of gold and crimson. As she began the familiar routine of closing up her hot dog cart, her mind wandered back to the strange encounter earlier that day. Liam Marshall. The name echoed in her thoughts, stirring up a mix of curiosity and unease. She'd heard stories about Marshall's meats, of course. It was impossible to be in the food industry in Chicago and not know about the company that had grown from local supplier to national giant. But the man behind the empire? He'd been nothing more than a name on a logo to her, until today. As she scrubbed the grill, Maya's hand unconsciously moved to the simple necklace around her neck, her fingers tracing the familiar contours of the small medallion. "Roots strong, never forgotten," she murmured, reciting the inscription her grandfather had so lovingly engraved. The weight of the necklace was comforting, a constant reminder of where she came from and who she was. The sound of approaching footsteps broke through her reverie. Maya looked up, half expecting to see Liam Marshall again, but instead found herself face to face with Kyle Jacobs, her ex-boyfriend. His boyish grin was as charming as ever, but there was an edge to it now, a hint of something calculating that Maya couldn't quite place. "Hey, superstar," Kyle said, leaning against the cart. "Another day, another dollar, huh?" Maya forced a smile. "Hey, Kyle, what brings you to this neck of the woods?" Kyle shrugged, his eyes scanning the cart and the nearly empty street beyond. "Just thought I'd check in on my favorite hot dog vendor. See how business is treating you." There was something in his tone that made Maya bristle. She and Kyle had parted ways months ago, but he still had a way of making her feel like she was somehow falling short of her potential. "Business is fine," she said, perhaps a bit too defensively. "Same as always." Kyle raised an eyebrow. "Same as always, huh? That's good, I guess, but Maya, don't you ever think about expanding? Taking this to the next level?" Maya sighed, closing the lid of her cooler with perhaps more force than necessary. We've been over this, Kyle. This cart, this business. It's not just about making money. It's about family, tradition, doing things the right way. I get that, I do, Kyle said, holding up his hands in a placating gesture. But times are changing, Maya. These big chains are moving in, offering cheaper dogs, faster service. How long before they start eating into your customer base? As if on cue, a garish neon sign flickered to life across the street, advertising Windy City Wieners, Chicago's newest hot dog sensation. Maya felt her heart sink. Another chain, another threat to the legacy she was trying so hard to preserve. Look, Kyle continued, his voice softening, I'm just looking out for you. You've got something special here, but you need to think bigger if you want to survive. Have you considered taking on investors? Maybe franchising? Maya shook her head firmly. No way. This cart stays independent just like Grandpa always wanted. Kyle opened his mouth to argue further, but Maya cut him off. Thanks for your concern, Kyle, but I've got this under control. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to finish closing up. As Kyle walked away, his shoulders slumped in defeat, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that she was being pulled in a dozen different directions. The pressure to expand, to change, to get with the times was constant, but so was her desire to honor her grandfather's memory and maintain the integrity of what he'd built. With a heavy sigh, Maya locked up the cart and began the short walk to her apartment. The streets of Chicago hummed with nightlife, but she barely noticed, lost in thought. It wasn't until she reached her building that she realized someone was waiting for her. Lola Sullivan stood in the doorway, her amber eyes, so like Maya's own, filled with a mixture of love and concern. Hey, sweetie, she said, pulling her daughter into a warm embrace. Thought you might like some company tonight. Maya melted into her mother's arms, feeling some of the day's tension drain away. Thanks, Mom. I could use a friendly face. As they made their way up to Maya's small apartment, Lola studied her daughter's face. Rough day? Maya shrugged, unlocking the door. Not rough, exactly. Just complicated. You'll never guess who stopped by the cart today. Lola raised an eyebrow, following Maya into the cozy living room. Oh? Do tell. Maya flopped onto the worn couch, kicking off her shoes. Liam Marshall, as in Marshall's Meats. The color drained from Lola's face, and she sank slowly into the armchair across from Maya. Liam? He's back in Chicago. Maya nodded, too preoccupied with her own thoughts to notice her mother's reaction. Yeah. He ordered a dog, said it tasted just like he remembered. Then he asked if we could meet to talk about the business. Can you believe it? The nerve of that guy thinking he can just waltz in and... She trailed off, finally registering the look on her mother's face. Mum, what's wrong? Do you know him? Lola's hands twisted in her lap, her eyes fixed on a point somewhere beyond Maya. Yes, I knew him. A long time ago. Before you were born. Maya sat up straight, her fatigue forgotten. What? How? Why have you never mentioned him before? Lola took a deep breath, seeming to steel herself for what she was about to say. Liam and I, we were more than just friends, Maya. We were in love. Or at least I thought we were. The world seemed to tilt on its axis as Maya processed this information. You and Liam Marshall? But what happened? Lola's eyes glistened with unshed tears. We had dreams, big dreams. We were going to open a restaurant together, build something special, but Liam, he got an offer he couldn't refuse. A chance to start his own meat supply company. He left Chicago, left me to pursue his ambitions. Maya's mind raced, trying to fit this new information into the narrative of her life. But what about Dad? I thought... Lola shook her head sadly. The man I told you was your father. He came later. He was a good man who helped me through a difficult time, but he wasn't... The unfinished sentence hung in the air between them, heavy with implication. Maya felt as though the floor had dropped out from beneath her. Mom, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, are you saying that Liam Marshall is my father? Lola nodded, a tear finally escaping to roll down her cheek. I'm so sorry, sweetie. I should have told you long ago. I didn't know how. Maya's head spun, her world reshaping itself around this earth-shattering revelation. The man she'd met today, the stranger who'd praised her hot dogs and asked to meet again, was her father. The father she'd never known, the man who'd abandoned her mother before she was even born. As the shock began to give way to a maelstrom of other emotions, anger, confusion, a strange sort of longing. Maya found her hand once again going to the necklace her grandfather had given her. "Roots strong, never forgotten," she murmured, the words taking on new meaning in light of this revelation. Lola reached out, taking Maya's free hand in her own. "I know this is a lot to take in, sweetheart, and I'll understand if you're angry with me, but please believe me when I say that everything I've done, every choice I've made, was to protect you." Maya squeezed her mother's hand, her mind still reeling. I need some time to process this, Mom. It's too much." Lola nodded, understanding in her eyes. "Of course. Take all the time you need." The morning sun crept through the blinds of Maya's small apartment, casting thin bars of light across her rumpled bedsheets. She hadn't slept much, her mind a carousel of memories and questions that spun relentlessly through the night. The revelation about Liam Marshall being her father had shaken her to her core, leaving her feeling unmoored in a sea of uncertainty. With a groan, Maya forced herself out of bed. The hot dog cart wouldn't run itself, and she had a legacy to uphold, even if that legacy now felt more complicated than ever before. As she went through her morning routine, her movements mechanical and distracted, she found herself staring at her reflection in the bathroom mirror. Had she always had Liam's nose? His chin? She shook her head, trying to dislodge the thoughts. The trek to her usual spot felt longer than usual, the weight of her newfound knowledge making each step heavier. As she set up the cart, muscle memory taking over where her distracted mind faltered, Maya couldn't help but scan the faces in the crowd. Would Liam show up again today? What would she say to him if he did? "Morning, Maya." "The usual, please." The cheerful voice cut through her reverie, and Maya looked up to see one of her regular customers, an elderly man named Frank, smiling at her from across the cart. "Coming right up, Frank," she replied, grateful for the distraction of work. As she prepared Frank's Chicago dog with practiced ease, Maya found herself wondering what Liam would think of her regulars, of the relationship she'd built over years of serving up her grandfather's recipe. Would he see value in that, or would he only see missed opportunities for expansion and profit? The morning rush came and went, a blur of mustard, relish, and small talk. It wasn't until the lunch crowd began to thin that Maya spotted a familiar face approaching her cart. Her heart leapt into her throat, thinking for a moment it was Liam, but then she recognized Kyle's easy grin. "Hey there, hot stuff," Kyle called out, sauntering up to the cart. "Thought I'd swing by and see how you're holding up after our chat yesterday." Maya felt a flicker of irritation. "I'm fine, Kyle, just like I was yesterday and the day before that." Kyle held up his hands in mock surrender. "Whoa, easy there. I come in peace, I swear." He leaned against the cart, his eyes scanning the street. "So, any sign of your mysterious benefactor today?" Maya stiffened. "He's not my benefactor, Kyle. He's just someone who's interested in the business." Right, Kyle nodded, his tone skeptical. "Just some random big shot who happened to take an interest in your little cart. Come on, Maya. You know as well as I do that guys like Liam Marshall don't waste their time on small fries unless they see dollar signs." Maya bristled at the implication. "Maybe he just appreciates good food and family tradition. Not everything is about money, you know." Kyle's eyebrows shot up. "Family tradition? What are you talking about?" Maya froze, realizing she'd said too much. She hadn't intended to share the truth about Liam with anyone, least of all Kyle. "Nothing," she muttered, busying herself with wiping down the counter. "Forget I said anything." But Kyle wasn't about to let it go. He leaned in closer, his voice low. "Maya, what's going on? You know you can trust me, right?" For a moment, Maya was tempted to confide in him. Despite their breakup, Kyle had been a part of her life for years. He knew her, knew the business, but something held her back. The memory of his constant pushing for expansion, his focus on profit over tradition, made her hesitate. "It's complicated, Kyle," she said finally, "and frankly, it's none of your business. Now, are you going to order something, or are you just here to interrogate me?" Kyle straightened up, a hint of hurt flashing in his eyes. "All right, I can take a hint. But Maya, whatever's going on, don't let yourself get taken advantage of. You've got something special here, and I'd hate to see you lose it because you're too stubborn to accept help when it's offered." As Kyle walked away, Maya felt a pang of guilt. She knew he meant well, in his own way, but the thought of turning her grandfather's legacy into just another fast food chain made her stomach churn. The rest of the afternoon passed in a haze of customers and condiments. Maya found herself jumping every time she saw a man in a suit approach, half expecting, half dreading to see Liam again. But as the sun began to set and she started the process of closing up shop, there was still no sign of him. Just as she was locking up the cart, a voice called out from behind her. "Maya, got a minute?" She turned to find her mother standing there, a tentative smile on her face. "I thought maybe we could grab dinner, talk things over." Maya hesitated. Part of her wanted nothing more than to go home, crawl into bed, and pretend none of this was happening. But she knew she couldn't avoid this conversation forever. "Sure, Mum," she said with a sigh. "I know a place nearby that does great deep dish pizza." As they walked to the restaurant, Lola linked her arm through Maya's. "I want you to know," she said softly, "that whatever you decide to do about Liam, I'll support you. He may be your biological father, but you don't owe him anything." Maya nodded, grateful for her mother's understanding. "I know, Mum. I don't know what I want yet. Part of me is curious, you know, to get to know him, to understand where I came from. But another part is angry," Lola finished for her. "Hurt? Confused? Those are all valid feelings, sweetheart." They reached the pizza place and found a quiet booth in the back. As they waited for their order, Maya fiddled with her necklace, her grandfather's words echoing in her mind. "Roots strong, never forgotten." "Mom," she said finally, looking up to meet Lola's eyes, "tell me about him. About you and Liam, I mean. What was he like back then?" Lola's eyes grew distant, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "Oh, Maya, he was passionate, ambitious. He had this way of talking about food that made you believe anything was possible. We'd stay up all night planning menus, dreaming up restaurant concepts. He had this idea that we could revolutionize street food, make it gourmet without losing its soul." Maya listened, rapt, as her mother painted a picture of a younger, idealistic Liam, a man who loved food and Chicago with equal fervor, who saw potential in every corner hot dog stand and hole-in-the-wall diner. "What changed?" Maya asked softly. Lola's smile faded. "Success, I suppose. He got an offer to start his own meat supply company, and suddenly our dreams of a little restaurant seemed small in comparison. He tried to convince me to go with him, to be part of something bigger. But I couldn't leave Chicago, couldn't leave the life we'd planned." As their pizza arrived, steam rising from the thick layers of cheese and sauce, Maya found herself torn between sympathy for her mother and a grudging curiosity about Liam. What would her life have been like if he'd stayed, if they'd opened that restaurant together? "Mom," she said, taking a deep breath, I think I want to meet with him, to hear his side of the story at least." Lola reached across the table, squeezing Maya's hand. "If that's what you want, sweetie, I understand. Just be careful, okay? Liam has a way of sweeping people up in his dreams. Don't let him make you forget who you are and what's important to you." Maya nodded, her mind already racing with questions she wanted to ask Liam. As she bit into a slice of pizza, the rich flavors exploding on her tongue, she couldn't help but wonder, could she find a way to honor her grandfather's legacy, while also embracing the opportunity Liam represented? Or would reaching for the future mean leaving her past behind? The answers she knew wouldn't come easily, but as she sat there with her mother, surrounded by the sounds and smells of the city she loved, Maya felt a spark of determination ignite within her. Whatever happened next, she would face it on her own terms, with her roots strong and her eyes on the horizon. The next morning dawned crisp and clear, a perfect Chicago autumn day. Maya stood at her hot dog cart, her hands moving through the familiar motions of setup, but her mind was elsewhere. She'd spent half the night tossing and turning, replaying her mother's words, and imagining 100 different scenarios for her impending meeting with Liam. As the first customers of the day began to trickle in, Maya found herself studying each face more intently than usual. Would Liam show up unannounced again? Or would he wait for her to make the first move? "Excuse me, miss, can I get a Chicago dog with everything?" Maya snapped back to attention, forcing a smile for the tourist in front of her. "Coming right up, sir. You're in for a treat. Best dog in the city, guaranteed." As she assembled the hot dog with practiced ease, Maya couldn't help but wonder what Liam would think of her little operation. Would he see the value in the personal touch, the relationships she'd built with her regulars, or would he only see inefficiency, missed opportunities for expansion? The morning rush came and went, a blur of mustard, onions, and small talk. It wasn't until the crowd thinned out around mid-afternoon that Maya spotted a familiar face approaching. Her heart leapt into her throat, thinking for a moment it was Liam, but then she recognized the easy grin of Kyle. "Hey there, hotshot," Kyle called out, sauntering up to the cart. "Thought I'd swing by and see how you're holding up." Maya felt a flicker of annoyance. "I'm fine, Kyle, just like I was yesterday and the day before that." Kyle held up his hands in mock surrender. "Whoa, easy there. I come bearing gifts." He produced a newspaper from behind his back, folding it open to reveal a large advertisement. "Check this out." Maya leaned in to read the ad, her stomach sinking as she did. "Windy City Wieners, Chicago's newest hot dog sensation. Grand opening this weekend. They're setting up shop just 2 blocks from here," Kyle said, his tone a mixture of concern and excitement. "Maya, this could be big trouble for you, but it could also be an opportunity." Maya's brow furrowed. "An opportunity? How do you figure?" Kyle's eyes lit up, the way they always did when he was about to launch into one of his business pitches. "Think about it. This chain moves in, starts offering cheaper dogs, faster service. But what do they lack? Authenticity, history, the personal touch that keeps your regulars coming back day after day." Maya nodded slowly, seeing where he was going. "So you're saying we double down on what makes us unique?" "Exactly," Kyle exclaimed. "But we also need to modernize, maybe start a social media campaign, highlight the family history behind your cart. And speaking of family," he paused, his expression turning serious. "Have you given any more thought to Liam Marshall's offer?" Maya stiffened. She hadn't told Kyle about her newfound connection to Liam, and she wasn't about to start now. "It's complicated, Kyle, and frankly, it's none of your business." Kyle's face fell. "Come on, Maya. I'm just trying to help. You know I care about you, about this business. I hate to see you struggling when there are opportunities right in front of you." For a moment, Maya was tempted to confide in him. Despite their breakup, Kyle had been a part of her life for years. He knew her, knew the business, but something held her back. The memory of his constant pushing for expansion, his focus on profit over tradition, made her hesitate. "I appreciate your concern," she said finally, her tone softening, "but I need to figure this out on my own." "Okay," Kyle nodded, though he couldn't quite hide the disappointment in his eyes. "All right, I can take a hint. Just don't wait too long to make a decision, Maya. The food industry waits for no one." As Kyle walked away, Maya felt a pang of guilt. She knew he meant well in his own way, but the thought of turning her grandfather's legacy into just another fast food chain made her stomach churn. The rest of the afternoon passed in a haze of customers and condiments. Maya found herself jumping every time she saw a man in a suit approach, half expecting, half dreading to see Liam again. But as the sun began to set and she started the process of closing up shop, there was still no sign of him. Just as she was locking up the cart, her phone buzzed with a text message. Her heart skipped a beat when she saw it was from an unknown number. "Maya, it's Liam Marshall. I hope you don't mind. I got your number from the business card on your cart. I was wondering if you'd be willing to meet for coffee tomorrow morning. There's a lot I'd like to discuss with you. No pressure, just a chat." Maya stared at the message for a long moment, her emotions swirling. Part of her wanted to ignore it, to pretend none of this was happening. But another part, a part that sounded suspiciously like her grandfather, urged her to face this head-on. With trembling fingers, she typed out a reply. "Okay. There's a cafe called Grind and Shine on the corner of 5th and Main. 8 a.m. Liam's response came almost immediately. "Perfect. I'll see you there." As Maya made her way home, the weight of the impending meeting settled on her shoulders. What would she say to him? What would he say to her? And more importantly, how would this encounter change the course of her life? She thought of her grandfather, of the legacy he'd built with nothing but a cart and a dream. She thought of her mother, who had raised her alone, sacrificing so much to keep that dream alive. And she thought of Liam, the father she'd never known, who now held the potential to change everything. As she reached her apartment, Maya's hand went to the necklace her grandfather had given her. "Roots strong, never forgotten," she murmured, drawing strength from the familiar words. Whatever happened tomorrow, she would face it with the strength of her family behind her and the spirit of Chicago in her heart. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: change was coming, whether Maya was ready for it or not. The morning air was crisp and cool as Maya made her way to Grind and Shine, her steps quickening with each block. The weight of anticipation sat heavy in her stomach, a mix of curiosity and apprehension that had kept her tossing and turning all night. As she approached the cafe, she spotted Liam through the window. He was sitting at a corner table, his attention focused on a tablet in front of him. Even from a distance, Maya could see the resemblance that had eluded her during their first encounter. The set of his jaw, the way he furrowed his brow in concentration, it was like looking at a masculine version of herself. Taking a deep breath, Maya pushed open the door and stepped inside. The rich aroma of freshly ground coffee enveloped her, momentarily calming her nerves. Liam looked up at the sound of the bell, his face breaking into a smile as he caught sight of her. "Maya," he said, standing to greet her. "I'm glad you came." Maya nodded, unsure of how to respond. Should she shake his hand? Hug him? In the end, she simply slid into the seat across from him, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "Can I get you something?" Liam asked, gesturing to the counter. "Coffee? Tea? Maybe one of those oversized muffins?" "Just coffee, thanks," Maya replied, her voice steadier than she felt. "Black." As Liam went to place their order, Maya took the opportunity to study him more closely. He moved with a confidence that spoke of years navigating boardrooms and business deals. Yet there was something in the set of his shoulders, a tension that suggested he was as nervous about this meeting as she was. When he returned with their drinks, an awkward silence fell over the table. Maya sipped her coffee, using the mug as a shield, while Liam seemed to be gathering his thoughts. "I suppose we should address the elephant in the room," Liam finally said, his voice low. "I'm guessing Lola told you about our history?" Maya nodded, setting down her mug. "She did. Last night, actually. It's a lot to process." Liam's face softened with understanding. "I can only imagine. Maya, I want you to know that I had no idea. If I had known about you, I never would have..." "Never would have what?" Maya interrupted, a spark of anger flaring in her chest. "Never would have left. Never would have abandoned Mom. Or just never would have waited 23 years to show up." Liam flinched, as if he'd been slapped. "I deserved that," he said quietly. "And you're right to be angry. I made a lot of mistakes back then. Choices I've regretted every day since. But Maya, I'm here now. And I'd like a chance to make things right if you'll let me." Maya studied his face, searching for any sign of insincerity, but all she saw was genuine remorse and a hopeful vulnerability that made her anger falter. "Why now?" she asked. "Why come back after all this time?" Liam sighed, running a hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it made Maya's heart ache. "Honestly, I've been thinking about coming back for years, but I was a coward. I told myself it was too late, that I'd burned too many bridges. It wasn't until I tasted your hot dog, saw the passion and skill you put into your work, that I realized I couldn't stay away any longer." He leaned forward, his eyes intense. "Maya, what you've done with your grandfather's legacy, it's incredible. You've kept the tradition alive in a way that so many fail to do, and I think together we could take it even further." Maya's guard went up immediately. "What do you mean, take it further? I'm not interested in turning my cart into some soulless chain, if that's what you're suggesting." Liam shook his head quickly. No, nothing like that. I'm talking about preserving what makes your hot dogs special, while giving more people the chance to experience them. Imagine a small network of carts, each one run by someone who's been trained in your grandfather's methods, or a brick-and-mortar location that celebrates the history of Chicago street food. We could even look into packaging your special recipe for retail sale. As Liam spoke, Maya found herself getting caught up in his enthusiasm despite her best efforts. The ideas he was proposing weren't so different from the dreams she'd occasionally allowed herself to entertain late at night. "It sounds interesting," she admitted cautiously, "but why should I trust you? You left Mom, left Chicago. How do I know you won't do the same thing again once you get bored or a better offer comes along?" Liam's face fell, the pain in his eyes unmistakable. "I know I haven't given you any reason to trust me," he said softly, "and I don't expect you to forgive me overnight. But Maya, I'm not the same man I was 23 years ago. So I've learned the hard way that success means nothing if you don't have people to share it with." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, worn photograph. Maya leaned in to look, her breath catching as she recognized a much younger version of her mother, standing arm in arm with a grinning Liam in front of a dilapidated storefront. This was taken the day we found the perfect spot for our restaurant, Liam explained, his voice thick with emotion. We were so full of hope, so sure we were going to change the world. I've carried this photo with me every day since I left, a reminder of what I lost and what I hope to regain. Maya felt tears pricking at the corners of her eyes. She blinked them back, unwilling to let her guard down completely. It's a nice story, she said, her voice wavering slightly, but it doesn't change the past. No, it doesn't, Liam agreed, but it can shape the future. Maya, I'm not asking you to forgive me or to trust me blindly. All I'm asking for is a chance to get to know you, to be a part of your life in whatever way you're comfortable with. And if along the way we can work together to build something amazing, well, that would be a bonus. Maya sat back, her mind whirling with conflicting emotions. Part of her wanted to run, to go back to the simplicity of her life before Liam's return. But another part, a part that sounded suspiciously like her grandfather, urged her to take a leap of faith. I need some time to think, she said finally. This is all happening so fast. Liam nodded, understanding in his eyes. Of course, take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere this time, I promise. As they stood to leave, Liam hesitated for a moment before pulling a business card from his wallet. Here, he said, holding it out to Maya. My personal number is on the back. If you ever want to talk about business or anything else, I'm here. Maya took the card, tucking it into her pocket. As she walked out of the cafe, she felt as though she was standing at a crossroads. Behind her lay the comfort of the familiar, the legacy she'd worked so hard to maintain. Ahead, a future full of possibilities and potential, but also risks. As she made her way back to her cart, Maya's hand went to the necklace her grandfather had given her. Roots strong, never forgotten, she murmured. But for the first time, she found herself wondering, could those roots support new growth? Could she honor her past while still reaching for a different future? Only time would tell. But as Maya unlocked her cart and began preparing for the day ahead, she felt a spark of excitement amidst the uncertainty. Whatever she decided, she knew one thing for sure: her life would never be the same again. The days following Maya's meeting with Liam passed in a blur of activity. The routine of running her hot dog cart provided a comforting constancy, but beneath the surface, Maya's mind was in constant turmoil. Liam's words echoed in her thoughts, his proposals for expansion mingling with her own deeply ingrained desire to preserve her grandfather's legacy. It was on a particularly busy Friday afternoon when Maya noticed something that made her heart sink. Just 2 blocks down, a garish sign was being erected. Windy City Wieners, grand opening tomorrow. The corporate chain Kyle had warned her about was finally making its move. As she served her regulars, Maya couldn't help but steal glances at the commotion surrounding the new establishment. A small crowd had gathered, drawn by the promises of free samples and opening day specials. The sight filled her with a mixture of dread and determination. Quite a circus down there, huh? Maya turned to find Frank, one of her oldest and most loyal customers, watching the scene with a bemused expression. Yeah, Maya sighed, handing him his usual order. Looks like I've got some competition. Frank took a bite of his hot dog, savoring it with exaggerated pleasure. Competition? Nah, those places, they're a dime a dozen. What you've got here, Maya, that's something special. Your grandfather would be proud. Maya felt a lump form in her throat at the mention of her grandfather. Thanks, Frank. I just hope everyone else feels the same way. As the day wore on, Maya found herself paying closer attention to her customers' reactions. She noticed the way their faces lit up at the first bite, the way regulars greeted her by name and asked about her day. It was more than just selling hot dogs. It was about community, about carrying on a tradition that had been woven into the fabric of Chicago for generations. By the time she was closing up shop, Maya had come to a decision. She pulled out her phone and the business card Liam had given her, her fingers hovering over the keypad for a moment before she began to type. Liam, it's Maya. Can we meet again? I've been thinking about your ideas and I think I'm ready to talk. The response came almost immediately. Of course. Same place. Tomorrow morning. Maya confirmed the meeting and began her walk home, her mind racing with possibilities. She was so lost in thought that she almost didn't notice Kyle until he fell into step beside her. Hey, stranger, he said, his tone casual but his eyes sharp. Saw the new place setting up shop. You holding up okay? Maya nodded, suddenly wary. I'm fine, Kyle. It's just business, right? Kyle's brow furrowed. Sure, but it's not just any business. It's your family's legacy we're talking about here. Have you given any more thought to what we discussed? About modernizing, expanding? For a moment, Maya was tempted to tell Kyle about her upcoming meeting with Liam, to share the whirlwind of emotions and ideas she'd been grappling with. But something held her back. Kyle's vision for the future had always been so different from her own, focused on profit margins and market share rather than preserving the heart and soul of what made her grandfather's recipe special. I'm working on some ideas, she said finally. But whatever happens, I'm going to do it my way, the right way. Kyle's face fell slightly, but he quickly masked it with a smile. Of course. Just remember, I'm here if you need any help or advice. We may not be together anymore, but I still care about you and this business. As they parted ways, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that she was standing on the precipice of something momentous. The city around her seemed to pulse with energy, the evening air charged with possibility. Back at her apartment, Maya found her mother waiting for her, a look of concern etched on her face. I saw the new hot dog place setting up, Lola said without preamble. Are you okay, sweetie? Maya sank onto the couch beside her mother, suddenly exhausted. I don't know, Mom. Everything's changing so fast. I feel like I'm being pulled in a dozen different directions. Lola wrapped an arm around her daughter's shoulders. Change isn't always a bad thing, you know. Sometimes it's an opportunity in disguise. Maya looked up, studying her mother's face. Is that why you're not more upset about Liam being back? About me meeting with him? Lola sighed, her eyes distant. Oh, Maya, Liam and our history is complicated, but he was right about one thing. He's not the same man he was 23 years ago, and neither am I. We've both grown, changed. Maybe it's time to let go of old hurts and see what the future holds. Maya fingered her necklace, her grandfather's words echoing in her mind. But what about our roots? What about everything Grandpa built? Roots are important, Lola said softly, but they're meant to support growth, not hold you back. Your grandfather didn't build this business just to have it stay the same forever. He built it to provide for his family, to create something lasting. Maybe it's time for that legacy to evolve. As Maya lay in bed that night, her mother's words mingled with Liam's proposals and her own hopes and fears for the future. She thought about the corporate chain moving in down the street, about Kyle's push for modernization, about Liam's vision of expansion that still honored tradition. In her dreams, she saw her grandfather's hot dog cart transforming, growing branches like a tree. Each branch held a different possibility: a brick-and-mortar restaurant celebrating Chicago's culinary history, a fleet of carts each run by someone passionate about preserving tradition, a line of packaged goods bringing the taste of authentic Chicago hot dogs to people across the country. And through it all, like a heartbeat, she heard the words, "Root strong, never forgotten." When Maya woke the next morning, she felt a sense of clarity she hadn't experienced in days. As she dressed for her meeting with Liam, she looked at herself in the mirror, seeing for the first time the blend of her mother's determination, her grandfather's passion, and yes, even Liam's ambition reflected in her own face. Whatever happened next, Maya knew one thing for certain. She was ready to write the next chapter of her family's legacy, and this time she would be holding the pen. The bell above the door of Grind and Shine tinkled softly as Maya stepped inside, her eyes immediately finding Liam at the same corner table they'd occupied during their first meeting. This time, however, the nervousness that had consumed her before was replaced by a quiet determination. She had made her decision, and now it was time to set things in motion. Liam stood as she approached, a tentative smile on his face. "Maya, thank you for meeting me again. I hope this means you've given some thought to what we discussed." Maya nodded, sliding into the seat across from him. "I have, but before we get into that, I have some conditions I need to lay out." Liam's eyebrows rose slightly, but he nodded. "Of course. I'm all ears." Taking a deep breath, Maya began. "First, if we do this, we do it my way. No cutting corners, no compromising on quality. Every hot dog we serve has to be as good as the ones my grandfather made." "Absolutely," Liam agreed quickly. "Quality is non-negotiable." "Second," Maya continued, her voice steady, "we start small. I'm not interested in becoming the next big chain overnight. We expand gradually. making sure each new location or venture maintains the spirit of the original. Liam nodded, his expression thoughtful. That's smart. Controlled growth will allow us to maintain quality and train staff properly. And finally, Maya said, her hand unconsciously moving to touch her necklace, whatever we do, it has to honor my grandfather's legacy. This isn't just about making money, it's about preserving a piece of Chicago's history. For a moment, Liam was quiet, studying Maya's face. Then, slowly, a genuine smile spread across his features. Maya, I couldn't agree more. In fact, you've just articulated exactly what I was hoping to achieve. Your grandfather's legacy, your mother's dedication, and your passion. That's what makes this special. That's what will set us apart. Maya felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She had been half expecting a fight, or at least some pushback. Liam's enthusiastic agreement caught her off guard. So, Liam said, leaning forward, what did you have in mind for our first step? Maya pulled out a small notebook from her bag, flipping it open to reveal pages of sketches and notes. I've been thinking about what you said, about a brick-and-mortar location. What if we created something that's part restaurant, part museum, a place that celebrates the history of Chicago street food, with our hot dogs as the star attraction? Liam's eyes lit up as he looked over Maya's ideas. This is brilliant, Maya. We could have displays showcasing the evolution of the Chicago-style hot dog, maybe even old photos and equipment from your grandfather's early days. As they dove into the details, bouncing ideas back and forth, Maya felt a spark of excitement ignite within her. This wasn't just about expanding a business, it was about creating something meaningful, something that would ensure her grandfather's legacy lived on for generations to come. Hours slipped by as they talked, their coffee growing cold and forgotten. It wasn't until Maya's phone buzzed with a text from her mother that she realized how much time had passed. Oh, wow, she said, glancing at the time. I need to get to the cart. The lunch rush will be starting soon. Liam nodded, gathering up the notes they'd made. Of course. Maya, I can't tell you how excited I am about this. I think we're on the verge of something truly special here. As they stood to leave, Maya felt a moment of awkwardness descend. How did one say goodbye to a father they were just getting to know? A handshake seemed too formal, a hug too familiar. Liam seemed to sense her discomfort. With a gentle smile, he held out his hand. Partners? He asked, his tone carrying the weight of more than just a business proposition. Maya hesitated for just a moment before taking his hand. Partners, she agreed. As she made her way to her hot dog cart, Maya's mind was buzzing with possibilities. The familiar routine of setting up felt different somehow, charged with new purpose. Each movement, from slicing onions to grilling sausages, seemed to carry the weight of generations past and the promise of those to come. The lunch rush was just beginning when Maya spotted a familiar face approaching. Kyle sauntered up to the cart, his easy grin in place but his eyes sharp and assessing. Hey there, hotshot, he called out. Busy morning, I swung by earlier, but you weren't around. Maya felt a flicker of guilt. She hadn't told Kyle about her meetings with Liam, and she wasn't sure she was ready to just yet. Yeah, had some errands to run, she said vaguely. What can I get you? Kyle's eyes narrowed slightly at her evasive answer, but he didn't press. The usual, please. So have you given any more thought to our discussion about modernizing? That new place down the street is drawing quite a crowd. As if on cue, a group of people walked by, carrying branded cups and bags from Windy City Wieners. Maya felt a momentary pang of worry, but it was quickly replaced by determination. Actually, she said, assembling Kyle's hot dog with practiced ease, I've been working on some ideas. Big changes are coming, Kyle, just not in the way you might expect. Kyle's eyebrows shot up. Oh? Care to share with the class? Maya hesitated. Part of her wanted to tell Kyle everything, to share her excitement about the plans she and Liam had been discussing. But another part, the part that remembered Kyle's constant push for rapid expansion and modernization at the expense of tradition, held her back. Not just yet, she said finally, handing him his hot dog. But soon, I promise. As Kyle walked away, his expression a mixture of curiosity and frustration, Maya felt a twinge of sadness. There had been a time when she would have shared everything with him without hesitation, but things were different now. She was different. The rest of the day passed in a blur of customers and condiments, but Maya's mind was elsewhere. She found herself studying her regulars more closely, imagining how they might react to the changes she was planning. Would they embrace the new while still appreciating the traditional? As she closed up shop that evening, Maya's phone buzzed with a text from Liam. "Great meeting today. I've started reaching out to some contacts about potential locations. Let's touch base tomorrow." Maya smiled as she typed her reply. "Sounds good. I've got some more ideas I want to run by you." As she walked home, the city alive with the energy of a Friday night, Maya felt a sense of anticipation building within her. Change was coming, faster than she had ever imagined. But for the first time in a long while, she wasn't afraid of it. She was ready to embrace it, to shape it, to use it to build something that would make her grandfather proud. Touching her necklace, Maya whispered the familiar words. Roots strong, never forgotten. But now those words felt less like a tether to the past and more like a foundation for the future, a future she was finally ready to create. The following week passed in a whirlwind of activity for Maya. By day, she manned her hot dog cart with renewed vigor, each interaction with a customer feeling like a silent promise of what was to come. By night, she pored over plans and proposals with Liam, their ideas growing more concrete with each passing day. It was on a particularly busy Thursday afternoon when Maya noticed something that made her pause mid-mustard squeeze. Kyle was approaching her cart, but he wasn't alone. Beside him walked a sharply dressed woman Maya didn't recognize, her crisp suit and tablet a stark contrast to the casual vibe of the street. "Hey Maya," Kyle called out, his tone overly cheerful. "Got a minute? There's someone I'd like you to meet." Maya finished preparing the hot dog for her current customer before turning her attention to Kyle and his companion. "Sure," she said cautiously. "What's up?" Kyle gestured to the woman beside him. "This is Sarah Thompson from Windy City Wieners. She's been very interested in your operation here." The woman, Sarah, stepped forward, offering a perfectly manicured hand. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Maya. I've heard wonderful things about your hot dogs." Maya shook Sarah's hand, her mind racing. Why would an executive from her biggest competitor be here? And why was Kyle involved? "Thank you," Maya replied, keeping her tone neutral. "What can I do for you?" Sarah's smile was practiced, almost predatory. "Well, Maya, I'll cut right to the chase. We at Windy City Wieners have been very impressed with your dedication to quality and your loyal customer base. We'd like to discuss the possibility of bringing you into our family." Maya blinked, taken aback. "I'm sorry, what?" "We want to buy your business," Kyle interjected, his eyes shining with excitement. "Think about it, Maya. With Windy City's resources behind you, you could expand, modernize. Your grandfather's recipe could reach people all across the country." For a moment, Maya was speechless. She looked from Kyle's eager face to Sarah's polished smile, then down at her simple hot dog cart. The cart that had been in her family for generations. The cart that held not just hot dogs, but memories, traditions, a legacy. I appreciate the offer," Maya said slowly, "but I'm not interested in selling." Sarah's smile didn't waver, but her eyes hardened slightly. "I understand this must be a shock. Why don't we set up a meeting where we can discuss the details? I'm sure once you see the numbers we're proposing, you'll—" "No," Maya interrupted, her voice firmer now. "I mean, thank you, but no. This business isn't for sale. Not now. Not ever." Kyle stepped forward, his brow furrowed. "Maya, come on. At least hear them out. This could be a huge opportunity for you." Maya felt a flare of anger. "An opportunity to what, Kyle? To give up everything my family has built? To turn my grandfather's recipe into just another fast food item? No thanks." Sarah cleared her throat, clearly unused to rejection. "Miss Sullivan, I urge you to reconsider. The fast food landscape is changing. Small, independent operations like yours, well, they're becoming harder and harder to maintain. Our offer is very generous." Maya's hand went to her necklace, her fingers tracing the familiar contours of the medallion. She thought of her grandfather, of her mother, of all the early mornings and late nights they'd put into this business. She thought of Liam and the plans they were making to honor that legacy while moving forward. "I appreciate your concern," Maya said, her voice steady, "but I think you'll find that there's still plenty of room in this city for tradition and quality. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have customers waiting." As Sarah walked away, her posture stiff with barely concealed frustration, Kyle lingered. "Maya, what are you doing?" he hissed. "This could have set you up for life." Maya turned to him, really looking at him for perhaps the first time in months. She saw the ambition in his eyes, the hunger for success that had always driven him. But she also saw something else, a fundamental misunderstanding of what her business, her legacy, truly meant. "Kyle," she said softly, "I know you're trying to help, but this isn't about money. It's about family, tradition, doing things the right way. I'm not interested in selling out, no matter how generous the offer." Kyle shook his head, disappointment etched on his face. "I don't understand you, Maya. I thought you wanted to grow, to succeed." "I do," Maya replied, "but on my own terms. And speaking of which..." She hesitated for a moment before plunging ahead. "I've been working on some plans. Big changes are coming, Kyle, just not the kind you were expecting." Kyle's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean? What kind of changes?" Maya took a deep breath. "I've been meeting with someone, a business partner. We're planning to expand, but in a way that honors my grandfather's legacy. We're going to open a restaurant, Kyle. A place that celebrates the history of Chicago street food." Kyle's jaw dropped. "A partner? Who? Why didn't you tell me about this?" "Because I knew you wouldn't understand," Maya said gently. "You've always been about the bottom line, about growth at any cost. But this is different. This is about preserving something special while also moving forward." For a long moment, Kyle just stared at her, a myriad of emotions flashing across his face. Then, without another word, he turned and walked away, leaving Maya standing alone beside her cart. As the afternoon wore on, Maya found her mind returning again and again to the confrontation. She felt a mix of emotions, pride at standing her ground, excitement about the future, and a tinge of sadness at the growing distance between her and Kyle. When she finally closed up shop for the day, Maya's phone buzzed with a text from Liam. "Just got off the phone with a realtor. Think I found the perfect location for our restaurant. Can you meet tomorrow morning to check it out?" Maya smiled as she typed her reply. "Absolutely, can't wait to see it." As she walked home, the setting sun painting the Chicago skyline in shades of gold and pink, Maya felt a sense of peace settle over her. The encounter with Windy City Venus had only strengthened her resolve. She knew now, more than ever, that she was on the right path. Touching her necklace, Maya whispered the familiar words, "Roots strong, never forgotten." But now those words felt like more than just a mantra. They felt like a promise. To her grandfather, to her mother, to herself, and to the city she loved. A promise that no matter what changes came, some things would always remain true. The early morning sun cast long shadows across the streets of Chicago as Maya made her way to the address Liam had sent her. Her steps were quick, fueled by a mixture of excitement and nervous energy. After weeks of planning and dreaming, they were finally taking a concrete step towards making their vision a reality. As she turned the corner, Maya's breath caught in her throat. There, nestled between a vintage record store and a cozy bookshop, stood a building that seemed to embody everything they had been discussing. The facade was classic Chicago brick, weathered but sturdy, with large windows that promised ample natural light. A faded sign above the door read, "Milo's Diner, Esther 1952. Liam was already there, pacing back and forth on the sidewalk. When he spotted Maya, his face lit up with a grin that reminded her startlingly of her own reflection. "Maya, what do you think?" he asked, gesturing expansively at the building. Maya took a moment to drink in the sight, her mind already racing with possibilities. "It's perfect," she breathed. "How did you find this place?" Liam's smile turned a bit sheepish. "Well, believe it or not, I used to come here as a kid. Milo made a mean patty melt. When I heard it was closing down, I knew we had to take a look." A realtor appeared from inside the building, keys jangling in her hand. "Mr. Marshall? Ms. Sullivan? Would you like to see the inside?" As they stepped through the door, Maya felt as though she was walking into a time capsule. The interior was pure 1950s Americana. Checkerboard floors, red vinyl booths, a long counter with chrome-edged stools. Despite the layer of dust and the signs of age, there was an undeniable charm to the place. "Now, I know it needs some work," Liam said, running a hand along the counter, "but I think that's part of its appeal. We can preserve the vintage feel while updating it for our needs." Maya nodded, her mind already buzzing with ideas. We could keep the counter for quick service, but convert some of the booth areas into display spaces for the museum aspect, she mused. And look at all this wall space. Perfect for photos and memorabilia. As they explored further, discussing potential layouts and necessary renovations, Maya felt a growing sense of excitement. This wasn't just a business venture anymore. It was becoming a tangible link between past and future, a bridge between her grandfather's legacy and the new chapter she was writing. Their tour was interrupted by the buzz of Maya's phone. She glanced at it, then frowned. "It's my mum," she said, looking at Liam. "Do you mind if I take this?" Liam shook his head. "Of course not. Take your time." Maya stepped outside, the cool morning air a contrast to the warmth of excitement she'd been feeling inside. "Hey, Mom." "What's up?" Lola's voice came through, tinged with an emotion Maya couldn't quite place. "Maya, honey, I need you to come home. There's something we need to discuss." A tendril of worry curled in Maya's stomach. "Is everything okay? Are you all right?" "I'm fine, sweetie," Lola assured her, but there was a hesitation in her voice. "It's just, I found something. Something I think you need to see." Maya's mind raced, trying to imagine what could be so important. "Okay, I'll be there as soon as I can. I'm just..." She hesitated, unsure how much to reveal. "I'm looking at a potential location with Liam." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "I see," Lola said finally. "Well, this isn't urgent. Finish what you're doing. We can talk when you're done." As Maya hung up, she couldn't shake the feeling that something significant was brewing. She turned to find Liam watching her, concern etched on his face. "Everything all right?" he asked. Maya nodded, forcing a smile. "Yeah, just some family stuff, nothing to worry about." She took a deep breath, pushing her concerns aside for the moment. "So, what do you think?" "Is this the place?" Liam's face broke into a grin. "I think it's perfect, but what matters is what you think. This is your legacy we're building on after all." Maya took another look around, trying to see past the dust and wear to the potential beneath. She could almost hear the sizzle of hot dogs on the grill, smell the familiar blend of spices, see customers marveling at the displays of Chicago's culinary history. "Let's do it," she said firmly. "This is the one." The next few hours flew by in a whirlwind of paperwork and discussions with the realtor. By the time Maya finally left, her head was spinning with terms like escrow and contingencies, but her heart was full of hope and excitement. As she made her way to her mother's house, however, the worry that had been pushed to the back of her mind began to creep forward again. What could her mother have found that was so important, and why did she sound so conflicted? Maya's hand went to her necklace, fingers tracing the familiar contours of the medallion. "Roots strong, never forgotten," she murmured, drawing strength from the words as she always had. Whatever was waiting for her at home, whatever challenges lay ahead, Maya knew she could face them. She had the strength of her family behind her, the legacy of her grandfather to guide her, and now a clear path forward into the future. As she approached her mother's house, Maya took a deep breath, steeling herself for whatever was to come. She had faced change before, had weathered storms and come out stronger. Whatever this new development was, she would face it head-on just as she always had. With one last touch of her necklace, Maya stepped up to the front door, ready to confront the next chapter in her ever-evolving story. Maya's hand hesitated for a moment before she knocked on her mother's door. The wood felt solid beneath her knuckles, a stark contrast to the uncertainty swirling in her mind. She heard movement inside, and then Lola's voice, muffled but clear. "Come in, honey, it's open." Stepping inside, Maya was immediately enveloped by the familiar sense of home. A hint of cinnamon from her mother's favorite candle, the lingering aroma of freshly brewed coffee. But there was tension in the air, thick and palpable. Lola was sitting at the kitchen table, a large cardboard box in front of her. Her hands were resting on top of it, as if guarding its contents. When she looked up at Maya, her eyes were a mixture of love, worry, and something else. Regret, perhaps. "Mum?" Maya said, her voice barely above a whisper. "What's going on?" "What did you find?" Lola took a deep breath, her fingers drumming nervously on the box. "I was cleaning out the attic, trying to make some space, and I found this. It was tucked away behind some old Christmas decorations. I had forgotten all about it." With trembling hands, Lola lifted the lid of the box. Maya stepped closer, peering inside. Her breath caught in her throat as she saw what lay within. Photographs, dozens of them, spilling out of envelopes and loose in the box, and peeking out from beneath them, the corner of what looked like a well-worn notebook. "What is all this?" Maya asked, reaching for one of the photos. Her eyes widened as she recognized the subjects, a much younger version of her mother, arm in arm with Liam. They were standing in front of a dilapidated storefront, their faces alight with hope and excitement. Lola's voice was soft, tinged with nostalgia. "That was the day we found the perfect spot for our restaurant. We were so full of dreams back then, so sure we were going to change the world." Maya's mind was reeling. She had known in an abstract way about her mother's history with Liam, but seeing it laid out before her, captured in these moments frozen in time, made it suddenly viscerally real. As she sifted through more photos, a pattern emerged. Liam and Lola, planning menus, scouting locations, always with that same look of boundless optimism. And then gradually a change. The smiles became strained, the light in their eyes dimmed. "What happened?" Maya asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Lola sighed, reaching for the notebook buried beneath the photos. "Life happened, I suppose. Dreams met reality. Liam got an offer to start his own meat supply company. It was an incredible opportunity, but it meant leaving Chicago, leaving us." She opened the notebook, revealing pages filled with hastily scribbled notes and sketches. "This was our dream journal. Every idea we had for the restaurant, every wild concept and midnight inspiration. We poured our hearts into this." Maya took the journal with reverent hands, flipping through the pages. She saw menu ideas, floor plans, even early sketches of logos. But what caught her eye was a phrase repeated on several pages, circled and underlined. "Roots strong, never forgotten." Her hand flew to her necklace. "Mum, this is—" Lola nodded, a sad smile on her face. "Your grandfather's motto. We wanted it to be the heart of our restaurant, a reminder of where we came from and what we stood for." Maya's mind was spinning. All this time, she had thought the necklace, the motto, was something uniquely between her and her grandfather. To realize it had been part of this larger dream, this lost future. "Why didn't you ever tell me about all this?" she asked, unable to keep a note of accusation from her voice. Lola's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "Oh, sweetie, at first it was just too painful. And then as time passed it seemed less and less relevant. You were growing up, making your own path. I didn't want to burden you with old regrets." Maya sank into a chair, her legs suddenly weak. "But Mom, this is everything we're trying to do now, the restaurant, celebrating Chicago's food history. It's all here." Lola reached out, taking Maya's hand in hers. "I know. And that's why I needed to show you this. Maya, when you told me about your plans with Liam about the restaurant, I was scared. Scared that history would repeat itself, that you'd get hurt the way I was." She paused, squeezing Maya's hand. "But seeing you these past few weeks, watching you light up as you talked about your ideas, I realized something. This dream, it wasn't just mine and Liam's. It's yours too. It's in your blood, your heart." Maya felt tears welling up in her eyes. "But what if it all falls apart again? What if Liam leaves or—" Lola cut her off gently. "Life is full of what-ifs, sweetheart. But you can't let fear of what might happen stop you from chasing your dreams. You're stronger than I was, smarter. And you have something I didn't." "What's that?" Maya asked. Lola smiled, reaching out to touch the necklace around Maya's neck. "A reminder. Roots strong, never forgotten. You carry your history with you, but you're not bound by it. You can learn from the past without being trapped by it." As Maya looked down at the photos spread across the table, at the familiar handwriting filling the pages of the dream journal, she felt a shift inside her. The uncertainty that had been gnawing at her since Liam's return began to recede, replaced by a sense of purpose, of continuity. She wasn't just carrying on her grandfather's legacy now. She was fulfilling a dream that had been years in the making, a dream that had started before she was even born. "Mum," she said, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes, "thank you for showing me this, for trusting me with it." Lola stood, pulling Maya into a tight embrace. "I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. Whatever happens, know that. You're taking our family's legacy and making it your own. That's all any parent could hope for." As they held each other, surrounded by the echoes of the past and the promise of the future, Maya felt a sense of peace settle over her. The path ahead was still uncertain, full of challenges and potential pitfalls, but now she felt more prepared to face them. She had the wisdom of the past to guide her, the strength of her family behind her, and a clear vision of the future she wanted to build. Whatever came next, Maya knew she was ready to face it head-on. "Roots strong, never forgotten," she murmured, the words feeling more powerful than ever before. It wasn't just a motto anymore. It was a promise, a guide, a foundation on which to build her dreams. And build them she would. The following morning dawned bright and clear, a perfect Chicago autumn day. Maya stood in front of the old diner that would soon become her new restaurant, the weight of the dream journal heavy in her bag. She had called Liam early, asking him to meet her here. There was so much to discuss, so much to share. As she waited, Maya found herself tracing the faded letters on the diner's sign. Milo's Diner, Esther 1952. How many dreams had been born here? How many lives had intersected within these walls? And now, it was her turn to add to that legacy. "Maya!" She turned to see Liam approaching, a concerned look on his face. "Is everything okay? Your message sounded urgent." Maya took a deep breath. "Everything's fine, more than fine actually, but there's something I need to show you." She reached into her bag and pulled out the dream journal. Liam's eyes widened in recognition, his hand reaching out almost involuntarily before he caught himself. "Is that—" he whispered, his voice trailing off. Maya nodded. "Mum found it, along with a box of old photos. Liam, why didn't you tell me that what we're doing now? It's the same dream you and Mom had all those years ago." Liam's shoulders sagged, and for a moment he looked every one of his years. I wasn't sure how to bring it up. It felt like ancient history, and I didn't want to complicate things." Maya unlocked the diner's door, gesturing for Liam to follow her inside. As they settled into one of the dusty booths, she opened the journal, laying it out between them. "This isn't just ancient history," she said softly. "This is our foundation. Look." She flipped through the pages, pointing out sketches and ideas that eerily mirrored their current plans. Liam's eyes misted over as he recognized his own handwriting, intertwined with Lola's. "I can't believe she kept this," he murmured, his fingers hovering over the pages as if afraid to touch them. Maya watched him carefully. "Did you really think she'd just throw it away? This was your shared dream, Liam. It meant something." Liam looked up, meeting Maya's gaze. "It meant everything. Maya, you have to understand. Leaving Chicago, leaving your mother. It was the hardest decision I've ever made. I thought I was doing the right thing, chasing success to build a better future. But I realize now I left the best part of myself behind." Maya felt a lump form in her throat. She had spent so long being angry at this man, this stranger who was her father. But seeing him now vulnerable and filled with regret, she felt her anger begin to soften. "We can't change the past," she said gently. "But maybe we can build a bridge from it to the future. This restaurant, it's not just our dream now. It's a continuation of something that started long before I was born." Liam nodded, a small smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "A bridge. I like that. Maya, I want you to know, I'm not here to take over or to remake the past. I'm here to support you, to help you build something amazing. This is your vision, your legacy." Maya felt a warmth bloom in her chest. For the first time, she truly believed that Liam was here for the right reasons. "Our legacy," she corrected him. "Mom's, yours, Grandpa's, and mine. We're all part of this story." They spent the next few hours poring over the journal, comparing old ideas with new ones, finding ways to honor the past while pushing into the future. As the afternoon sun slanted through the dusty windows, casting long shadows across the checkerboard floor, Maya felt a sense of rightness settle over her. "You know," Liam said, looking around the empty diner, "I think your grandfather would have loved this place. It's got character, history, just like his hot dog cart." Maya nodded, her hand going to her necklace. "Roots strong, never forgotten," she murmured. Liam's eyes caught the movement, recognition flashing across his face. "That necklace. Lola gave it to you?" "Grandpa did, actually," Maya replied. "Just before he passed. Why?" Liam's smile was bittersweet. "I bought that necklace for your mother years ago, when we first came up with our restaurant idea. It was supposed to be a good luck charm, a reminder of our dream. Maya felt her breath catch. All this time she had thought the necklace was just from her grandfather. To realize it had this deeper history, this connection to her parents' past. "I think," she said slowly, "that it's still bringing luck, still reminding us of the dream. It's just, the dream is bigger now. It spans generations." Liam nodded, his eyes bright with unshed tears. "Maya, I know I have a lot to make up for. 23 years of absence. It's not something that can be erased overnight, but I want you to know I'm committed to this, to you, to this restaurant, to honoring the legacy we're building on." Maya reached across the table, taking Liam's hand in hers. It was the first time she had initiated contact with him, and she felt him start in surprise before squeezing her hand gently. "I believe you," she said softly. "And I'm ready to move forward. Together." As they left the diner that evening, plans made and spirits high, Maya felt as though a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. The past and the future no longer felt like separate entities pulling her in opposite directions. Instead, they were intertwined, creating a foundation stronger than she had ever imagined. She looked up at the faded sign one last time before they left. "Goodbye, Milo's Diner," she whispered. "Thank you for waiting for us." As they walked away, Maya's mind was already racing with ideas for the new sign that would soon hang in its place. A name that would honor the past while embracing the future. A name that would tell the story of 3 generations, of dreams deferred and dreams reborn. The sun was setting over Chicago, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink. Maya breathed in deeply, savoring the crisp autumn air. Change was coming, faster than she had ever imagined. But for the first time in a long while, she wasn't afraid of it. She was ready to embrace it, to shape it, to use it to build something that would make her grandfather proud, her mother proud, and yes, even Liam proud. The story of her family's legacy was far from over. In fact, Maya realized with a smile, the most exciting chapter was just beginning. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of activity. Maya found herself juggling her daily routine at the hot dog cart, with an ever-growing list of tasks related to the new restaurant. There were permits to acquire, renovations to plan, and a mountain of paperwork that seemed to grow every time she looked away. Through it all, Liam proved to be an invaluable partner. His years of experience in the food industry opened doors that might have otherwise remained closed, and his enthusiasm matched Maya's own. They spent long evenings poring over plans, debating menu items, and refining their vision for the space. It was on a crisp Saturday morning, exactly 1 month after their meeting at the diner, that Maya stood before the building once again. This time, however, she wasn't alone. A small crowd had gathered, friends, family, and even a few curious passers-by. Maya's mother, Lola, stood at her side, her eyes misty as she gazed up at the faded Milo's Diner sign. "I can't believe this is really happening," she murmured, squeezing Maya's hand. Liam approached carrying a large cloth-covered object. "Are we ready?" he asked, his voice tinged with excitement. Maya nodded, taking a deep breath. She stepped forward, facing the small crowd. "Thank you all for coming today," she began, her voice strong despite the butterflies in her stomach. "This moment, it's been a long time coming, longer than I even realized." She glanced at her mother and Liam, sharing a small smile before continuing. "This restaurant isn't just about serving great food, though we'll definitely do that. It's about honoring a legacy, celebrating our city's rich culinary history, and creating a place where new memories can be made." Maya gestured to Liam, who stepped forward with the covered object. Together they pulled away the cloth, revealing a shiny new sign. "Sullivan's, where tradition meets tomorrow," gleamed in bold letters, with a smaller line underneath reading, "Esther 2024, built on dreams since 1952. A murmur of appreciation ran through the crowd. Maya caught sight of a few of her regular customers from the hot dog cart, their faces beaming with pride. Even Kyle was there, standing at the back with an unreadable expression. "Today," Maya continued, "we're not just breaking ground on a new restaurant. We're building a bridge between past and future, between generations, and we want all of you to be part of this journey." With that, she picked up a golden shovel that had been leaning against the building. "Mom, Dad, would you like to do the honors with me?" Lola's eyes widened at Maya's use of the word dad. It was the first time she had referred to Liam that way. With tears in her eyes, she stepped forward, placing her hand on the shovel beside Maya's. Liam joined them, his own eyes suspiciously bright. Together, the three of them plunged the shovel into the small patch of earth in front of the building. It was a symbolic gesture. The real construction would begin next week, but as the crowd cheered, Maya felt the weight of the moment settle over her. As the crowd began to disperse, mingling and chatting excitedly, Kyle approached Maya. "Congratulations," he said, his tone genuine despite the hint of regret in his eyes. It's really something, Maya." Maya smiled, feeling a wave of gratitude for their shared history, complicated as it was. "Thank you, Kyle, that means a lot." He hesitated for a moment before adding, "Listen, I know things have been weird between us lately, but I want you to know I'm rooting for you. If there's anything I can do to help." Maya nodded, touched by the offer. "I appreciate that. Really, and hey, you'll always have a special place here. After all, you were part of this journey too." As Kyle walked away, Maya felt a sense of closure. One chapter of her life was ending, but another, a bigger, brighter one, was just beginning. The rest of the day passed in a blur of congratulations, shared stories, and excited planning. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the Chicago skyline, Maya found herself alone in front of the building. She reached up, her fingers tracing the letters of the new sign. "Well, Grandpa," she whispered, her other hand clutching her necklace, "what do you think? Are we doing you proud?" A warm breeze rustled through the trees lining the street, carrying with it the faint scent of grilled onions and mustard. Maya smiled, taking it as a sign of approval. The sound of footsteps made her turn. Liam and Lola were approaching, their faces etched with a mixture of joy and nostalgia. "You okay, sweetheart?" Lola asked, wrapping an arm around Maya's shoulders. Maya nodded, leaning into her mother's embrace. "Just taking it all in. It's a lot, you know. Exciting, but..." "Scary?" Liam supplied, his tone understanding. "That's normal. But Maya, what you've done here, what we're doing together, it's extraordinary. Your grandfather would be so proud." "We're proud," Lola added, her voice firm. "All of us. The past, the present. We're all cheering you on." Maya felt a lump form in her throat. She looked at her mother, who had sacrificed so much to give her a good life, at Liam, who had returned to make amends and support her dreams, and at the building before them, which represented not just her future, but a continuation of a legacy decades in the making. "I couldn't have done this without you," she said softly. "Either of you, thank you." As they stood there, the three of them linked by blood, history, and shared dreams, Maya felt a sense of peace settle over her. The path ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But she was no longer facing them alone. She had the wisdom of the past, the support of the present, and a clear vision of the future. And through it all, she had a reminder hanging around her neck, close to her heart. Roots strong, never forgotten. With one last look at the sign gleaming in the fading light, Maya turned to her parents. "Come on," she said, a smile spreading across her face. "We've got a restaurant to build." As they walked away, arm in arm, the spirit of Chicago seemed to pulse around them. In this city of big shoulders and bigger dreams, another chapter was being written, and Maya Sullivan was holding the pen. The weeks following the groundbreaking ceremony flew by in a whirlwind of activity. Maya found herself bouncing between overseeing the renovation of the old diner, managing her hot dog cart, and countless meetings with suppliers, designers, and city officials. Each day brought new challenges, but also new excitements as she watched her dream slowly taking shape. One crisp autumn morning, Maya arrived at the construction site, a tray of coffee balanced precariously in one hand and a folder of blueprints tucked under her arm. The sound of hammering and the whir of power tools filled the air as workers swarmed over the building like industrious ants. "Morning, Ms. Sullivan," called out Joe, the site foreman, as Maya ducked under a piece of scaffolding. "Got some news for you. Might want to brace yourself." Maya felt her stomach drop. In her experience, news on a construction site was rarely good. "What's up, Joe?" The burly man scratched his beard, looking uncomfortable. "Well, we started tearing up the old flooring like you asked, but we found some issues with the foundation. Looks like there's been some water damage over the years. It's going to need some serious work before we can move forward." Maya closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. "How serious are we talking?" And how much is it going to set us back? Joe's grimace said it all. It's not good, Ms. Sullivan. We're looking at least an extra 3 weeks of work, maybe more. And the cost, well, let's just say it ain't going to be cheap. As Joe laid out the details, Maya felt a knot forming in her chest. This setback could derail their entire timeline, not to mention blow a massive hole in their budget. She thanked Joe for the information and retreated to the makeshift office they'd set up in a trailer on the site. Once alone, Maya allowed herself a moment of panic. She slumped into a chair, her head in her hands. How were they going to overcome this? They'd already invested so much and their opening date was set. Pushing it back could mean losing momentum, not to mention the financial strain of paying for a non-operational restaurant. Her hand went to her necklace, fingers tracing the familiar contours of the medallion. "Roots strong, never forgotten," she murmured, drawing strength from the words as she always had. Taking a deep breath, Maya straightened up. She hadn't come this far to be derailed by a setback, no matter how significant. It was time to rally the troops. She pulled out her phone, dialing Liam's number. "Dad," she said when he picked up, the word still feeling new on her tongue. "We've hit a snag. I need your help." Within an hour, Liam had arrived at the site, his face etched with concern. Maya laid out the situation, watching as he paced the small office, his brow furrowed in thought. "It's a setback, no doubt," Liam said finally, "but not an insurmountable one. I might have some contacts who could help expedite the work. And as for the cost..." He paused, meeting Maya's eyes. "I could increase my investment. Take on more of the financial burden." Maya felt a surge of gratitude, quickly followed by a flicker of unease. "That's generous, Dad, but I don't want to lose control of this project. It's not just about the money, it's about preserving the vision." Liam nodded, understanding in his eyes. "Of course. This is your show, Maya. I'm just here to support you. But remember, accepting help doesn't mean giving up control. We're partners in this, right?" Before Maya could respond, there was a knock at the door. To her surprise, Kyle poked his head in. "Hey," he said, looking slightly uncomfortable. "I heard there was trouble, thought I might be able to help." Maya raised an eyebrow. "How did you even know?" Kyle shrugged. "I've still got friends in the construction business. Word travels fast. Look, I know things have been weird between us, but I meant what I said at the groundbreaking. I want to help if I can." For a moment, Maya was tempted to turn him away, but as she looked at Kyle's earnest face, she remembered all the times he'd been there for her in the past. Maybe it was time to build a bridge rather than burn one. "All right," she said, gesturing for him to come in. "Let's hear what you've got." As the three of them huddled around the blueprints, tossing ideas back and forth, Maya felt a spark of hope ignite within her. Yes, they were facing a significant challenge, but she wasn't facing it alone. The next few hours were a flurry of phone calls, negotiations, and creative problem-solving. Kyle's connections in the construction industry proved invaluable, helping them find ways to expedite the foundation work without cutting corners. Liam's business acumen came into play as they reworked the budget, finding areas where they could trim costs without compromising quality. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the construction site, Maya stood outside the trailer, taking in the progress they'd made. The day had started with what seemed like an insurmountable obstacle, but now they had a plan. "You know," Liam said, coming to stand beside her, "your grandfather faced setbacks like this all the time with his cart, but he never let it stop him. He always found a way." Maya nodded, a small smile playing at her lips. "I know. Mom used to tell me stories about how he'd jury-rig repairs with whatever he had on hand, said he could fix anything with a bit of string and some determination." "Sounds like someone else I know," Liam said, nudging her gently with his elbow. As they stood there, watching the last of the workers pack up for the day, Maya felt a renewed sense of purpose wash over her. Yes, they'd hit a bump in the road, but in facing this challenge, she'd been reminded of the strength of her support system, the value of perseverance, and the power of her family's legacy. "Thanks, Dad," she said softly. "For everything." Liam wrapped an arm around her shoulders, giving her a gentle squeeze. "Always, kiddo, we're in this together." As they turned to leave, Maya cast one last look at the building behind them. It might be a bit battered and bruised at the moment, but she could still see the potential shining through. Just like her family's legacy, it had strong roots. And with a little love, a lot of hard work, and some help from the people who mattered most, it would rise again, stronger than ever. The challenges weren't over. Maya knew that. But as she walked away from the site, her father by her side and her grandfather's spirit in her heart, she felt ready to face whatever came next. After all, she was a Sullivan, and Sullivans never backed down from a challenge. The crisp autumn air had given way to the first biting winds of winter as Maya hurried down the street, her breath forming small clouds in front of her. The past few weeks had been a blur of problem-solving, late nights and endless cups of coffee, as she, Liam and their team worked tirelessly to get the restaurant back on track. Despite the setbacks, they had made remarkable progress. The foundation issues were nearly resolved, thanks in large part to Kyle's connections and some creative engineering. But as Maya approached the construction site, a knot of anxiety formed in her stomach. Today was the day they were supposed to finalize their menu and start placing orders with suppliers. It was a crucial step, and one that carried its own set of challenges. As she rounded the corner, Maya stopped short. A sleek black car was parked in front of the building, and leaning against it was a familiar figure, Sarah Thompson from Windy City Wieners. Maya's guard immediately went up. What was she doing here? Ms. Sullivan, Sarah called out, her tone professional but with an underlying warmth that caught Maya off guard. I was hoping to catch you. Do you have a moment? Cautiously, Maya approached. Ms. Thompson, this is unexpected. What can I do for you? Sarah straightened up, smoothing her immaculate suit. I was hoping we could talk. About your restaurant, about Windy City Wieners, about the future of Chicago's food scene. Maybe over coffee. Maya hesitated. Her instinct was to refuse, to see Sarah as nothing more than a competitor, a threat. But something in the woman's expression gave her pause. There was a sincerity there, an earnestness that didn't match Maya's perception of a cutthroat corporate executive. All right, Maya found herself saying. There's a cafe just down the block, but I don't have long. As they settled into a quiet corner of the cafe, steaming mugs of coffee in front of them, Sarah dove right in. I'll be direct, Ms. Sullivan. I've been watching your progress with great interest. What you're doing here, it's special, it's got heart. And frankly, it's made me reevaluate some things at Windy City Wieners. Maya raised an eyebrow, intrigued despite herself. What do you mean? Sarah took a sip of her coffee, gathering her thoughts. When I first approached you about selling, I saw your business as nothing more than a quaint local operation ripe for acquisition. But as I've watched you overcome challenge after challenge, as I've seen the community rally around you, I've realized we've lost sight of something important at Windy City. She leaned forward, her eyes intense. We've forgotten our roots. In our rush to expand, to dominate the market, we've lost the very thing that made Chicago hot dogs special in the first place. The tradition, the personal touch, the connection to the community. Maya felt a mix of emotions swirling within her. Pride at the impact her small operation had made, suspicion at Sarah's apparent change of heart, and a grudging respect for the woman's honesty. That's not what I expected to hear, Maya admitted. But I'm not sure I understand why you're telling me this. Sarah smiled, a hint of vulnerability showing through her polished exterior. Because I want to propose a partnership, not an acquisition, not a takeover, a true collaboration. Your passion and connection to Chicago's culinary history, combined with our resources and reach, we could do something revolutionary. Maya's mind raced. A partnership with Windy City Wieners. It seemed impossible, a betrayal of everything she'd been working towards, and yet, I appreciate the offer, Maya said slowly, but I'm not sure how that would work. Our visions seem pretty different. Sarah nodded, understanding in her eyes. They have been, but they don't have to be. Imagine this, a joint venture, a new line of premium hot dogs showcasing the best of Chicago's flavors. We handle distribution and marketing. You oversee quality control and recipe development. Your restaurant becomes a flagship location, a living museum of Chicago's street food history. As Sarah laid out her vision, Maya found herself becoming intrigued despite her initial skepticism. The possibilities were tantalizing. With Windy City's resources, they could reach so many more people, share her grandfather's legacy on a scale she had never imagined. But doubt still nagged at her. And what about the soul of it? The personal touch, the connection to the community. How do we maintain that on a larger scale? Sarah's eyes lit up. That's exactly the kind of thinking we need. We don't want to lose that. In fact, we want to amplify it, Your story, your family's legacy, that's what will set this apart. We're not looking to change what makes Sullivan special. We want to help more people experience it. As their conversation continued, Maya felt her perspective shifting. She had always seen Windy City Wieners as the enemy, the corporate giant threatening to overshadow small, family-owned businesses like hers. But perhaps they could be something else. An ally, a partner in preserving and promoting Chicago's rich culinary traditions. When they finally left the cafe, Maya's head was spinning with possibilities. She hadn't agreed to anything yet. This was too big a decision to make on the spot. But she had promised to discuss it with Liam and give it serious consideration. As she watched Sarah's car pull away, Maya's hand went to her necklace. "Roots strong, never forgotten," she murmured. But for the first time, those words didn't feel like a tether to the past. They felt like a foundation for an even bigger future than she had imagined. Maya turned to look at the construction site of her restaurant. The scaffolding and tarps suddenly seemed less like obstacles and more like the chrysalis of something transformative. Whatever she decided about Sarah's offer, one thing was clear: the legacy of Sullivan's was about to enter a new chapter. And it was going to be bigger and more impactful than anything her grandfather could have dreamed. With a deep breath, Maya pulled out her phone. "Dad," she said when Liam answered, "you're not going to believe what just happened. We need to talk." As she began to explain, Maya felt a surge of excitement. The future was uncertain, but it was bright with possibility. And she was ready to face it head-on, with her roots strong and her eyes on the horizon. The Sullivan family home buzzed with tension and excitement. Maya sat at the kitchen table, surrounded by her mother, Liam, and Kyle. The dream journal lay open before them, its pages a testament to the legacy they were all now part of. Sarah Thompson's proposal hung in the air, a tantalizing possibility that could change everything. "I still can't believe it," Lola said, shaking her head in disbelief. "Windy City Wieners wants to partner with us? After everything?" Liam leaned forward, his brow furrowed in thought. "It's an incredible opportunity, no doubt. The resources they could bring to the table. It's beyond anything we could manage on our own." Kyle, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, finally spoke up. "But at what cost? Maya, this is your dream, your family's legacy. Are you sure you want to share that with a corporate giant?" Maya's fingers traced the edge of the dream journal, her mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. "I don't know," she admitted. "Part of me sees the potential. We could reach so many more people, share Grandpa's recipes with the whole country. But another part is afraid of losing what makes it special," Lola finished for her, understanding in her eyes. Maya nodded, grateful for her mother's insight. "Exactly. How do we maintain the soul of Sullivan's if we're operating on such a large scale?" The room fell silent, each person lost in their own thoughts. It was Liam who finally broke the silence, his voice gentle but firm. "Maya, when I left Chicago all those years ago, I thought I was chasing success. I thought bigger always meant better. But coming back, seeing what you've built here, what your grandfather started, it's made me realize that true success isn't about size or profit margins. It's about impact, about leaving a legacy." He reached across the table, taking Maya's hand in his. "Whatever you decide, it has to feel right to you. This is your vision, your legacy to shape." Maya felt a lump form in her throat. She looked around the table, at the faces of the people who had supported her, challenged her, and believed in her. Each of them represented a different aspect of her journey. Her mother's unwavering support, Liam's business acumen and desire for redemption, Kyle's ambition and drive. And then there was her grandfather's presence, embodied in the dream journal and the necklace she wore. What would he think of all this? As if reading her thoughts, Lola spoke up. "You know, your grandfather always said that a good hot dog brings people together. It's not just food, it's a conversation starter, a shared experience. Maybe this partnership could be a way to bring that experience to more people." Maya nodded slowly, an idea beginning to form. What if we approach this differently? Instead of just expanding Sullivan's, what if we use this as an opportunity to celebrate all of Chicago's hot dog legacy? She stood up, pacing as her excitement grew. "We could create a line of hot dogs that pays homage to different Chicago neighborhoods, each with its own unique flavor profile. The Sullivan's Original could be the flagship, but we could also highlight other family recipes, other local traditions. Kyle's eyes lit up. And the restaurant could be like a museum, showcasing the history of each recipe, the families behind them. We could even set up a program to support other small family-owned hot dog stands, Liam added, catching on to the enthusiasm. Use some of the profits to preserve Chicago's street food culture. As the ideas flowed, Maya felt a sense of clarity washing over her. This wasn't about selling out or losing her identity. It was about growing, evolving, and finding a way to honor not just her family's legacy, but the entire rich tapestry of Chicago's hot dog culture. "I think," she said slowly, "I think this could work. But we'd need to be very clear with Sarah about our vision. This has to be a true partnership, not a corporate takeover." Lola stood, wrapping her arm around Maya's shoulders. "Whatever you decide, sweetheart, we're with you. Your grandfather would be so proud of how you're carrying on his legacy." Maya's hand went to her necklace, the familiar weight comforting against her skin. "Roots strong, never forgotten," she murmured. But now those words felt less like a mantra and more like a mission statement. As the night wore on, they hashed out the details of their counteroffer to Windy City Wieners. It would be bold, ambitious, and true to the spirit of Sullivan's. Whether Sarah and her corporate bosses would go for it remained to be seen, but Maya felt a sense of peace settle over her. Whatever happened next, she knew she was staying true to her roots while reaching for new heights. The next morning, as Maya stood outside the construction site of her restaurant, their restaurant, she felt a sense of anticipation tingling in her veins. The scaffolding and tarps no longer looked like obstacles. Instead, they seemed like the cocoon of something magnificent about to emerge. She pulled out her phone, her finger hovering over Sarah Thompson's number. This call could change everything. But as she pressed dial, Maya felt ready to honor the past, embrace the present, and shape the future of Chicago's hot dog legacy. As the phone began to ring, Maya took a deep breath. Whatever came next, she knew one thing for certain: the best was yet to come. The conference room at Windy City Wieners headquarters buzzed with an energy that was part tension, part excitement. Maya sat at the long table, Liam to her right and Kyle to her left, facing Sarah Thompson and a group of corporate executives. The weight of the moment pressed down on Maya's shoulders, but she drew strength from the familiar touch of her necklace. "Thank you all for coming," Sarah began, her voice steady and professional. "We're here today to discuss a potential partnership between Windy City Wieners and Sullivan's." "Ms. Sullivan, the floor is yours." Maya took a deep breath, feeling the eyes of everyone in the room on her. This was it, the moment that could change everything. "Thank you, Ms. Thompson," Maya said, her voice clear and confident. "We've given your proposal a lot of thought, and while we're excited about the possibilities, we have a slightly different vision in mind." She opened the folder in front of her, spreading out a series of drawings and plans. "We're not just proposing a partnership between Sullivan's and Windy City Wieners. We're proposing a celebration of Chicago's entire hot dog legacy." As Maya laid out their plan, the neighborhood-inspired hot dog line, the living museum concept for the restaurant, the program to support small family-owned stands, she watched the faces of the executives. Some looked intrigued, others skeptical. Sarah, however, was leaning forward, her eyes bright with interest. "This is more than just a business venture," Maya continued. "It's a chance to preserve and promote a vital part of Chicago's culinary history. We're not looking to be swallowed up by a corporation. We want to be partners in creating something truly special." One of the executives, a stern-looking man with graying hair, spoke up. "This all sounds very idealistic, but what about the bottom line? How does this translate to profit?" Liam stepped in smoothly. "Actually, we've run the numbers." He distributed a set of financial projections. "By positioning this as a premium, locally sourced product with a rich history behind it, we can tap into the growing market for authentic artisanal foods. The museum aspect of the restaurant adds an additional revenue stream through tourism," Kyle chimed in, "not to mention the positive PR. In an age where consumers are increasingly concerned about supporting local businesses and preserving cultural heritage, this partnership would set Windy City Wieners apart from other big chains." The room fell silent as the executives pored over the documents. Maya's heart pounded in her chest, but she kept her expression calm and confident. She believed in this vision, Now she just had to make them believe too. Finally, Sarah looked up, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "I have to say, Miss Sullivan, this is not what I expected. It's better, more ambitious, more meaningful." She turned to her colleagues. "Think about it. We've been trying to compete in a market that's becoming increasingly homogenized. This gives us a chance to stand out, to offer something truly unique. It's not just about selling hot dogs. It's about selling an experience, a piece of history." The stern-faced executive frowned. "It's a risk, a big one. We'd be gambling a lot on the public's appetite for nostalgia and local flavor." "With all due respect," Maya interjected, her voice soft but firm, "that appetite has kept my family's business going for 3 generations. People crave authenticity, connection. That's what we're offering here." The room erupted into discussion, executives arguing back and forth about potential risks and rewards. Maya, Liam, and Kyle exchanged glances, tension evident in their postures. This was the moment of truth. After what felt like an eternity, Sarah held up a hand, silencing the room. "I think," she said slowly, "that we'd be fools to pass this up. It's bold, it's innovative, and it's exactly the kind of thing that could revitalize our brand." She turned to Maya, extending her hand. "Ms. Sullivan, I believe we have the beginnings of a beautiful partnership." As Maya shook Sarah's hand, she felt a wave of emotion wash over her. They'd done it. Against all odds, they'd found a way to honor her family's legacy while stepping into a future bigger and brighter than she'd ever imagined. As they left the Windy City Wieners building, Maya, Liam, and Kyle were practically giddy with excitement. "I can't believe we pulled it off," Kyle said, shaking his head in amazement. Liam clapped Maya on the shoulder. "Believe it, kiddo. This was all you. Your vision, your passion. You did your grandfather proud today." Maya's hand went to her necklace, tears pricking at the corners of her eyes. "I just wish he could be here to see it." "He is," Liam said softly. "In every decision you make, in every hot dog you serve, his legacy lives on through you." As they walked down the busy Chicago street, Maya's mind was already racing with plans and ideas. There was so much work to be done. Menus to finalize, recipes to perfect, a restaurant to finish building. But for the first time in a long time, the challenges ahead didn't feel daunting. They felt exciting. "You know," she said, a smile spreading across her face, "I think it's time we brought back an old Sullivan family tradition." Liam and Kyle looked at her curiously. "Every time we hit a major milestone, Grandpa used to fire up the grill and make hot dogs for the whole neighborhood. It was his way of saying thank you, of sharing our success with the community." Liam's eyes lit up. "That sounds perfect, a way to celebrate the past and the future at the same time." As they headed towards Maya's hot dog cart to start preparations, she felt a sense of rightness settle over her. This journey had been full of unexpected turns, challenges, and revelations. But through it all, she'd stayed true to her roots while finding the courage to grow in new directions. The sun was setting over Chicago, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink. Maya breathed in deeply, savoring the familiar sense of the city she loved. Change was coming, faster and bigger than she had ever imagined, but this time she wasn't just ready for it. She was leading it. With her family by her side, her grandfather's spirit in her heart, and a city full of hot dog lovers waiting to be served, Maya Sullivan was ready to write the next chapter in her family's flavorful legacy. And she had a feeling it was going to be the best one yet. The aroma of grilling hot dogs and sautéed onions wafted through the air, mingling with the excited chatter of the crowd gathered in the small park near Maya's old hot dog cart. It was a perfect Chicago evening, the setting sun painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, casting a warm glow over the impromptu celebration. Maya stood at the grill, expertly flipping dogs and chatting with the steady stream of neighbors, friends and curious passers-by who had been drawn by the scent and the festive atmosphere. Her mother, Lola, was by her side, assembling the hot dogs with practiced ease, while Liam and Kyle worked the crowd, sharing the exciting news about the partnership with Windy City Wieners and the plans for the new restaurant. As Maya handed a loaded Chicago-style dog to Mrs. Rossi, her elderly neighbor who had been one of her first regular customers, she couldn't help but feel a surge of pride and nostalgia. "Just like your grandfather used to make," Mrs. Rossi said, taking a bite and closing her eyes in appreciation. "He'd be so proud of you, dear." Maya smiled, touching her necklace. Thank you, Mrs. Rossi. That means a lot. As the evening wore on, Maya found herself constantly fielding questions about the new venture. Some were excited about the prospect of Sullivan's expanding, while others expressed concern about partnering with a big corporation. But won't you lose what makes Sullivan special? Asked Frank, one of her most loyal customers from the cart days. Maya paused, considering her answer carefully. You know, Frank, I had the same worry at first, but this partnership isn't about changing who we are. It's about sharing what makes us special with more people. We're not just expanding Sullivan's, we're celebrating the entire history of Chicago hot dogs. And we're going to need the help of folks like you to make sure we get it right. Frank nodded, seemingly satisfied with her answer. Well, as long as you keep making dogs like this, you'll always have my support. As the crowd began to thin and the sky darkened, Maya found a quiet moment to herself. She leaned against her old cart, running her hand along its familiar surface. This cart had been her starting point, the foundation upon which she was now building something bigger than she'd ever dreamed. Penny for your thoughts? Maya looked up to see Sarah Thompson approaching, a half-eaten hot dog in her hand. Miss Thompson, Maya said, straightening up. I didn't expect to see you here. Sarah smiled, gesturing at the hot dog. I couldn't resist. Had to see what all the fuss was about. And I have to say, the rumors don't do it justice. This is incredible. Maya felt a flush of pride. Thank you. It's my grandfather's recipe. Sarah nodded, her expression turning serious. You know, Maya, can I call you Maya? I've been in this business a long time. I've seen countless family operations get swallowed up by bigger fish. But what you're doing here, it's different, special. Maya raised an eyebrow, curious. How so? You're not just selling a product, Sarah said, gesturing around at the lingering crowd. You're selling a story, a connection. These people aren't just here for the food. They're here because they feel like they're part of something. Maya nodded, understanding dawning. It's what my grandfather always said. A good hot dog brings people together. Exactly, Sarah agreed. And that's what we need to capture as we move forward. This isn't just about expanding a business. It's about growing a community. As they continued to chat, Maya felt a growing sense of excitement. The partnership with Windy City Wieners wasn't just a business opportunity. It was a chance to share her family's legacy, to celebrate Chicago's rich culinary history on a scale she had never imagined possible. Later that night, as Maya helped her mother clean up, Lola pulled her into a tight hug. Your grandfather would be over the moon, sweetheart, Lola said, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Seeing all these people here, enjoying his recipe, being part of this moment, it's everything he ever wanted. Maya felt a lump form in her throat. I just hope I can live up to his legacy, she whispered. Lola pulled back, cupping Maya's face in her hands. Oh, honey, you're not just living up to it. You're expanding it, making it your own. That's exactly what he would have wanted. As they finished packing up, Liam approached, a thoughtful expression on his face. You know, he said, watching you tonight, talking to all these people, sharing your passion, it reminded me of why I fell in love with this business in the first place. It's not just about the food. It's about the connections we make, the traditions we build. Maya nodded, understanding completely. It's about family, she said softly. Not just blood family, but the family we create around us. Liam smiled, pulling her into a one-armed hug. Exactly. And speaking of family, I have a surprise for you, but it'll have to wait until tomorrow. Meet me at the restaurant site in the morning. Maya agreed, her curiosity piqued. As she made her way home that night, her mind was buzzing with the events of the day and the possibilities that lay ahead. The partnership with Windy City Wieners was just the beginning. There were still so many decisions to make, challenges to overcome. But as she climbed into bed, her hand instinctively going to her necklace, Maya felt a sense of peace wash over her. Whatever came next, she was ready. She had the strength of her family behind her, the wisdom of her grandfather guiding her, and a community of supporters cheering her on. Tomorrow would bring new adventures, new challenges. But for now, Maya drifted off to sleep, her dreams filled with the sizzle of hot dogs on the grill and the laughter of happy customers. In those dreams, she saw a future where Sullivan's wasn't just a restaurant, but a cornerstone of the community, a place where people came together to share stories, create memories, and experience a taste of Chicago's rich history. And at the center of it all was Maya, carrying forward a legacy that was no longer just about hot dogs, but about the power of food to bring people together, to bridge generations, and to keep traditions alive in an ever-changing world. The early morning sun cast long shadows across the construction site as Maya approached, her curiosity piqued by Liam's promise of a surprise. The sounds of hammering and power tools filled the air, a symphony of progress that made her heart swell with pride and anticipation. As she neared the entrance, she spotted Liam standing next to a large object covered by a tarp. His face broke into a wide grin when he saw her. "Morning, kiddo," he called out. "Ready for your surprise?" Maya nodded, her excitement building. "What is it, Dad?" "What's under there?" Liam's eyes twinkled with mischief. "Well, as we were clearing out some of the old storage areas in the back of the diner, we found something I think you're going to want to see." With a flourish, he pulled away the tarp, revealing a battered but still recognizable hot dog cart. For a moment, Maya couldn't breathe. She knew this cart. She'd seen it 100 times in old family photos. "Is that?" she whispered, reaching out to touch the faded red and white paint. Liam nodded, his voice soft with emotion. "Your grandfather's original cart, the one he started with back in 1952. We thought it had been lost years ago, but here it was, tucked away and forgotten." Maya circled the cart slowly, taking in every dent and scratch. Each mark told a story, a testament to years of hard work and dedication. Her fingers traced the faded lettering on the side. "Sullivan's Chicago's Finest." "It's incredible," she breathed. "But why was it here?" Liam shrugged. "Best we can figure, the previous owner of the diner must have bought it years ago, maybe thinking to use it for storage or as a quirky decoration. But it got pushed to the back and forgotten." As Maya examined the cart, memories flooded back, stories her grandfather had told her about his early days, the struggles and triumphs that had shaped their family legacy. She could almost hear his laughter, smell the familiar aroma of grilling hot dogs and sautéed onions. "What do you think?" Liam asked, watching her closely. "I thought maybe we could restore it, make it a centerpiece in the new restaurant, a piece of living history." Maya nodded, too overcome with emotion to speak. Her hand went to her necklace, fingers tracing the familiar contours of the medallion. "Roots strong, never forgotten," she murmured. Just then, the sound of approaching footsteps made them both turn. Sarah Thompson was walking towards them, a folder tucked under her arm and an excited gleam in her eye. "Good morning," she called out. "I hope I'm not interrupting, but I have some news that couldn't wait." Maya and Liam exchanged glances before turning back to Sarah. "What's up?" Maya asked. Sarah's smile widened as she opened the folder. "Well, after our partnership announcement, we've been inundated with calls and emails. Not just from potential customers, but from other family-owned hot dog stands across Chicago." She handed Maya a stack of papers. "These are messages from dozens of small business owners. They're excited about our project, Maya. They want to be part of it. Some are offering to share their family recipes. Others want to be featured in the museum section of the restaurant. It's like we've tapped into something bigger than we realized." Maya flipped through the messages, her heart swelling with each one she read. This was more than she had ever dreamed possible. It wasn't just about preserving her family's legacy anymore. They were becoming custodians of an entire city's culinary history. "This is amazing," she said, looking up at Sarah and Liam. "But how do we incorporate all of this? We don't want to lose focus." Liam nodded thoughtfully. "What if we created a rotating feature? Each month we could highlight a different family's recipe, tell their story. It could be a way to keep the menu fresh and celebrate the diversity of Chicago's hot dog culture." Sarah's eyes lit up. "And we could extend that to the museum portion as well, rotating exhibits that showcase different aspects of the city's street food history. It would give people a reason to keep coming back to see what's new." As they continued to brainstorm, the possibilities seemed endless. Maya could see it all unfolding before her eyes, a restaurant that was more than just a place to eat. It would be a living, breathing testament to the power of food to bring people together, to preserve history, and to create new traditions. Suddenly, Maya had an idea. What if we use Grandpa's cart as part of this? We could set it up in the restaurant, use it to serve the featured recipe of the month. It would be a way to honor where we came from while celebrating where we're going. Liam and Sarah exchanged excited glances. "That's brilliant," Sarah said. "It's the perfect bridge between past and present." As the three of them stood there, surrounded by the buzz of construction and the promise of what was to come, Maya felt a sense of rightness settle over her. This journey had taken her in directions she never could have imagined. But somehow it all felt meant to be. She looked at the old cart, then at the half-finished restaurant behind it. In that moment, she could see the threads of past, present, and future weaving together into something beautiful and unique. "You know," she said softly, "when I first started this journey, I was so focused on preserving the past that I was afraid of change. But now I see that honoring our roots doesn't mean standing still. It means growing, evolving, but always remembering where we came from." Liam put an arm around her shoulders, giving her a gentle squeeze. "That's the Sullivan spirit, kiddo. Always moving forward, but never forgetting what matters most." As they turned to head into the construction site, ready to tackle the next phase of their project, Maya cast one last look at her grandfather's cart. In her mind's eye, she could see him standing there, spatula in hand, a proud smile on his face. "We're doing it, Grandpa," she whispered. "We're keeping your dream alive and making it bigger than ever." With a deep breath and a determined smile, Maya stepped into the building site, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The future was bright, filled with the sizzle of grilling hot dogs, the laughter of happy customers, and the rich tapestry of stories waiting to be told. And Maya Sullivan was ready to write the next chapter, one hot dog at a time. The weeks leading up to the grand opening of Sullivan's flew by in a whirlwind of activity. Maya found herself juggling 1,000 tasks, from menu tastings to staff training, from selecting the perfect vintage photographs for the walls to overseeing the restoration of her grandfather's old cart. One crisp autumn morning, just 2 weeks before the scheduled opening, Maya stood in the center of the nearly finished restaurant, taking it all in. The polished chrome fixtures gleamed under the soft lighting, and the rich aroma of grilling hot dogs filled the air as the kitchen staff practiced their timing and technique. "It's really coming together, isn't it?" Liam's voice came from behind her. Maya turned, a smile spreading across her face. "It really is." "I can hardly believe it's real." Liam wrapped an arm around her shoulders, giving her a gentle squeeze. "Believe it, kiddo. This is all you, your vision, your determination. I'm just glad I get to be a part of it." As they stood there, taking in the fruits of their labor, Sarah Thompson walked in, her face alight with excitement. "Maya, Liam! You've got to see this," she called out, waving a newspaper in her hand. "We've made the front page of the food section." Maya took the paper, her eyes widening as she read the headline, "Sullivan's, a new chapter in Chicago's hot dog legacy." The article was glowing, praising the concept of blending traditional recipes with modern innovations and highlighting the community involvement aspect of the project. "This is incredible," Maya breathed, "but it also means the pressure's on. We've got a lot to live up to now." Sarah nodded, her expression turning serious. "That's actually why I'm here. The corporate board at Windy City Wieners is getting nervous. They're worried we're focusing too much on the artisanal community aspect and not enough on profitability." Maya felt her stomach drop. "What are you saying? Do they want to change the concept?" Sarah shook her head quickly. No, they're still on board with the overall vision, but they're pushing for a bigger opening, more publicity. They want to make a splash." Liam frowned. "That could be risky. We don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. Quality could suffer if we try to do too much too soon." As the three of them debated the pros and cons of a bigger launch, Kyle burst into the restaurant, out of breath and clutching his phone. "Guys, we've got a problem," he panted. "I just got word that Tasty Dog Empire is planning to open a new location right across the street. They're pushing for a grand opening the same day as ours." The news hit Maya like a punch to the gut. Tasty Dog Empire was a national chain known for its aggressive expansion tactics and rock-bottom prices. If they opened opposite Sullivan's, it could steal their thunder and potentially siphon off crucial opening day business. For a moment, the room was silent as the weight of this new challenge settled over them. Maya could feel the eyes of Liam, Sarah, and Kyle on her, waiting to see how she would react. She took a deep breath, her hand instinctively going to her necklace. "Root strong, never forgotten," she murmured, drawing strength from the familiar words. Looking up at her team, Maya felt a sense of calm determination wash over her. "Okay," she said, her voice steady. "Here's what we're going to do." As Maya laid out her plan, blending caution with ambition, tradition with innovation, she could see the tension in the room start to dissipate. They had come too far, overcome too many obstacles, to let this latest challenge derail them. The grand opening of Sullivan's was no longer just about launching a restaurant. It had become a statement about the power of community, the importance of preserving culinary heritage, and the ability of one family's dream to inspire an entire city. As the team dispersed to put their new strategy into action, Maya took one last look around the restaurant. In just 2 short weeks, these empty tables would be filled with customers. The air would be thick with the scent of grilling hot dogs and the sound of laughter and conversation. "We're almost there, Grandpa," she whispered. "Just you wait and see. We're going to make you proud." With renewed determination, Maya rolled up her sleeves and got back to work. The final stretch was upon them, and she was ready to give it everything she had. The morning of Sullivan's grand opening dawned bright and clear, the kind of perfect Chicago day that seemed tailor-made for new beginnings. Maya stood on the sidewalk in front of the restaurant, watching as the early morning sun glinted off the freshly polished windows and the new sign that proudly proclaimed, "Sullivan's, where tradition meets tomorrow." Her heart was pounding with a mixture of excitement and nerves as she took in the scene. Our line had already formed, stretching around the block. A mix of curious locals, food critics, and even a few tourists who had read about the opening in the national press. Across the street, she could see the garish signs of Tasty Dog Empire's new location, but somehow their grand opening seemed subdued in comparison. "Ready for this?" Liam's voice came from behind her. Maya turned to see her father approaching, followed closely by her mother, Kyle, and Sarah. They all wore matching t-shirts with the Sullivan's logo, a stylized hot dog cart that cleverly incorporated elements of the Chicago skyline. "As ready as I'll ever be," Maya replied, taking a deep breath. Lola stepped forward, adjusting Maya's necklace with gentle hands. "Oh, your grandfather would be so proud, sweetheart. You've taken his dream and made it into something even more beautiful than he could have imagined." Tears pricked at Maya's eyes, but she blinked them back. There would be time for emotion later. Right now, she had a restaurant to open. As they gathered for one final team huddle, Maya looked at the faces around her. Her parents reunited and stronger than ever. Kyle, who had proven to be not just an ex-boyfriend, but a true friend and valuable ally. Sarah, whose corporate expertise had been tempered by a newfound appreciation for tradition and community. And beyond them, she could see her staff, a diverse group of Chicago natives, each with their own connection to the city's rich hot dog heritage. "All right, everyone," Maya said, her voice strong and clear. "This is it. Remember, we're not just serving food today. We're serving up a piece of Chicago history, a taste of community, a flavor of home. Let's make every hot dog count." With a cheer, the team dispersed to their stations. Maya took her place behind her grandfather's restored cart, which now occupied a place of honor near the entrance. As the doors opened and the first customers began to stream in, she felt a sense of calm settle over her. The day passed in a blur of activity. Maya moved from station to station, greeting customers, sharing stories about the photos and memorabilia that adorned the walls, and yes, making hot dogs with the same care and precision her grandfather had taught her. As the afternoon wore on, Maya began to notice something remarkable. Customers weren't just eating and leaving. They were lingering, sharing stories about their own favorite hot dog stands, swapping tales of Chicago summers long past. At one table, she oversaw an impromptu debate about the merits of ketchup on hot dogs, a true Chicago controversy. At another, she listened as an elderly couple regaled a group of teenagers with stories of their first date at a long-gone hot dog stand in the 1950s. Even the critics and journalists who had come to review the restaurant seemed caught up in the atmosphere. Maya overheard more than one of them remarking that this was more than just a meal. It was an experience, a celebration of everything that made Chicago unique. As the day began to wind down, Maya found herself back behind her grandfather's cart. As she assembled a Chicago-style dog for a young boy and his father, she felt a tap on her shoulder. "Excuse me, miss," came a gravelly voice. "I heard this was the place to get a proper Chicago dog." Maya turned to find herself face to face with an elderly man, his eyes twinkling with mischief. With a start, she recognized him from an old photograph on the wall. He had been one of her grandfather's first regular customers, back when the cart was just starting out. "Mr. Johnson?" she asked, hardly daring to believe it. The old man's face broke into a wide grin. "You remember me? Your grandpa always said you were a sharp one. Now how about one of those famous Sullivan dogs?" For old time's sake, with tears in her eyes and a lump in her throat, Maya prepared the hot dog just as her grandfather had taught her. As she handed it over, Mr. Johnson took a big bite, closing his eyes in appreciation. "Perfect," he mumbled around a mouthful of food, "just like your grandpa used to make. You've done him proud, young lady. You've done all of us proud." As the last customers left and the staff began the process of cleaning up, Maya found herself once again standing in the center of the restaurant. The buzz of conversation had been replaced by the quiet hum of satisfaction that follows a successful day. Liam approached, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "So what's the verdict? Was it everything you hoped for?" Maya looked around, taking in the photos on the walls, the restored cart, the faces of her tired but happy staff. She thought of all the stories that had been shared that day, all the connections that had been made. It was more, she said softly. So much more. As they walked out into the cool Chicago evening, Maya's hand went to her necklace one last time. "Roots strong, never forgotten," she murmured. But now those words felt less like a mantra and more like a promise fulfilled. Sullivan's wasn't just a restaurant. It was a bridge between past and future, a place where old traditions could thrive and new ones could be born. It was everything her grandfather had dreamed of, and everything Maya had never known she wanted. As she looked up at the sign one last time before heading home, Maya felt a sense of peace wash over her. Whatever challenges tomorrow might bring, she was ready to face them. After all, she had the strength of her family behind her, the wisdom of the past to guide her, and a whole city full of hot dog lovers cheering her on. The story of Sullivan's was far from over. In fact, Maya realized with a smile, the most exciting chapter was just beginning.